Chapter 2781. Qi Huangji drank a few cups of wine and was in a good mood. He explained the origin of the God Emperor's name to Ji Tianqing without stopping and in great detail. Of course, he had not lost his mind and did not dare to openly discuss the Azura God Emperor's past. In order to prevent the walls from having ears, he spoke to Ji Tianqing through telepathy. The God Kings and Overlords of the various domains have all submitted to the Azura God Emperor. The Azura God Emperor's hundreds of laws have also been carried out by the overlords of the various domains. Because of this, the entire continent has become peaceful and there has been no war for 900 years. In addition, the Azura God Emperor has also issued a decree to erect statues of him in all the countries and cities. On a certain day every month, all the cities and cities will hold a pilgrimage ceremony and all the citizens will worship him devoutly. Not only his statues, but the statues of the emperors of the various empires and god nations will also be worshipped. Qi Huangji gave him a brief rundown of what he knew. Ji Tianqing listened in silence. Although he did not show it on his face, his heart was in turmoil. The Azura God King has broken through the God King realm and understood the mysteries of heaven. He has taken the final step to disrupt the mysteries of heaven and interfere with the will of heaven. It must be the eternal heavenly book. I have the heaven vanquishing formation and those 5 bastards have the eternal heavenly book. The Azura God King has comprehended an even more profound law from the eternal heavenly book. That is how he was able to take the final step. Ji Tianqing believed that only the eternal heavenly book and the heaven vanquishing formation could help the Azura God King break through his limits and reach a higher realm. This was because both the eternal heavenly book and the heaven vanquishing formation were supreme treasures from supreme ruins. Moreover, both supreme treasures were part of the same body. The eternal heavenly book was the first half and the heaven vanquishing formation was the second half. When Kenshin had obtained the heaven vanquishing formation, he had been besieged by the 5 god kings and countless other gods before he could comprehend the mysteries within. Ji Tianqing didn't know what happened after that and what changes the god world had undergone. However, after listening to Qi Huangji's story, Ji Tianqing could roughly guess what had happened. Azura God King, Azura God Emperor. In that case, the backer of the heaven punishers, the godly king who called himself the God Emperor, could be the Shura God Emperor. He unified the boundless heaven continent and became the overlord of the continent. However, he was not strong enough to fully comprehend the eternal heavenly scripture. Therefore, he issued an order for all the cities and towns on the continent to build a statue of him and worship him every month. In this way, he can harvest the power of faith of the entire boundless heaven continent and continuously increase his strength. Ji Tianqing pondered silently and vaguely guessed the truth. Murderous intent surged in his heart, and there was a hidden coldness in his eyes. However, he hid it very well, and Qi Huangji, who was beside him, did not notice. After Qi Huangji finished speaking, he asked again, "Young Master Qi, I heard that the God world has 3 other continents besides the boundless heaven continent. I wonder if the situation of the other 3 continents is the same as the boundless heaven continent. Have they also been unified? If that's the case, which God Emperor are the overlords of the other 3 continents?" Ji Tianqing guessed that the Azura God King had broken through to the God Emperor level. The other 4 godly kings who had besieged him might have also taken the last step and called themselves God Emperor. Unexpectedly, Qi Huangji looked at him blankly and asked doubtfully, "There are 4 continents in the God world. Who told you that? Isn't this nonsense? Are those storytellers making up stories to cheat you out of your money? I only know that the boundless heaven continent is so vast that it's unimaginable. There are close to 100 regions on the continent, and our Golden Mountain region is only one of them. There are 8 empires in the Golden Mountain region, and each empire has more than 10 god nations. Our Bloodfire god nation is one of the great Yan Empire's vassal states. I don't even know how big the Bloodfire god nation is, let alone the entire great Yan Empire." At this point, Qi Huangji raised his head and drank the wine in his cup. He said proudly, "Brother Tianqing, I have a very big dream. Do you want to know?" Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said, "I'd like to hear the details." Qi Huangji was slightly drunk. He held his head high and said, "My biggest dream in this life is to be able to travel all over the Golden Mountain region, the 8 empires, and get to know the heroes of the world." "Brother Tianqing, are you envious? Are you shocked?" "Ha ha ha. The territory of the Golden Mountain region is vast and boundless. Without the strength of a divine lord and sufficient wealth, it's impossible to travel all over. Only someone with my status can have the chance to realize this dream." Ji Tianqing fell silent. He had wanted to ask about the other continents, but he did not expect Qi Huangji to be so ignorant. Traveling through the entire Jinshan domain was his lifelong wish and dream. This was simply hilarious. Of course, Ji Tianqing had been a peak divine king in his previous life. He had traveled all over the 4 continents and the divine world. His experience and knowledge were only comparable to that of a peak divine king. A person like Qi Huangji was just a rich young master from a remote village. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Ji Tianqing knew what Qi Huangji was thinking, so he did not say anything. Next, Qi Huangji told him the story of the great Yan Empire and the Bloodfire God nation. In the past few hundred years, Qi Huangji had exaggerated the deeds and major events that had been circulating among the people. Ji Tianqing listened quietly and did not comment. 2 hours later, Qi Huangji was getting more and more drunk, and he stopped talking. He patted Ji Tianqing's shoulder and said proudly, "Brother Tianqing, I'm not in a good mood today, but I met such an interesting person like you. Thank you for drinking with me. I'm in a much better mood now. You've just arrived and you've lost your memory. If you don't have anyone to rely on and have nowhere to go, why don't you come back to the Qi residence with me? Anyway, I'm a generous person and love to make friends with people with special abilities from all over the world. By the way, how strong are you? If you're a level 6 heavenly god, I'll arrange a job for you. I guarantee that you'll be respected in Green Mountain City." Ji Tianqing cupped his hands and politely declined his invitation. "Thank you for your kindness, Master Qi, but I'm not in a position to impose." Qi Huangji thought for a while and took out a bag of divine stones. "You don't even have a place to stay in Green Mountain City. Take these divine stones. It'll be convenient for you to eat and stay in the city. If you encounter any difficulties, come to the Qi residence to look for me." Ji Tianqing smiled and shook his head. "Thank you, Master Qi, but I can't accept a reward without any effort. Please take it back. I plan to stay in the Star Moon Pavilion for a few days to settle some things first." Qi Huangji looked at him deeply before taking back the bag of divine stones. He nodded and said, "Not bad, you're an interesting person. You can stay here for now. No one will dare to make things difficult for you if you mention my name. I'll take my leave first. I still have to serve that iceberg lady when I get back. Sigh, what a tough life." Chapter 2782. Qi Huangji shook his head bitterly and left, reeking of alcohol. When he reached the lobby on the first floor, he didn't forget to ask the manager to prepare a good room for Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing sat alone in the VIP room, still thinking about what Qi Huangji had said. The blue-robed manager came in person and took Ji Tianqing to the guest room. The Star Moon Pavilion was large and luxurious. Obviously, it had a powerful background. The 3-story building facing the street was just a place to drink tea and drink. The guest room was in the backyard. There was a palace and 2 courtyards, all of which were protected by a divine formation. The manager led Ji Tianqing into the Chilon courtyard. The courtyard with a radius of 100 meters was clean and elegant, decorated beautifully. Not only that, but there were also 4 guards, 2 maids, and a coachman in the courtyard. Ji Tianqing had asked the manager and found that it would cost 3,000 divine stones a day to stay in this courtyard. That was a sky-high price. Normal celestial gods couldn't afford it. Ji Tianqing killed Lin Wuji in the 5 Thunder Pool guards, took their interspatial rings, and got more than 20,000 divine stones. This could be considered as a small fortune. However, he was only able to pay for 8 days of stay in the Star Moon Pavilion. Ji Tianqing only mentioned when he would pay for the room. The manager bowed at once and said with a smile, "Mr. Tianqing, you must be joking. You are Mr. Qi's friend. How dare we charge you?" Obviously, Ji Tianqing had counted all the money for the room on Qi Huangji's head. This made Ji Tianqing secretly surprised. Was Qi Huangji really a tycoon? He asked around and found out from the shopkeeper at the Qi family was indeed the wealthiest family in Qingshan City. The Qi family was in the pet business and their network was spread across half of the Bloody Blaze divine nation. They were indeed rich. Qi Huangji was the young master of the Qi family. He wasn't interested in cultivation or business, but he was obsessed with traveling the world. However, the rules of the Qi family were very strict. The family master was strict and rigid. Qi Huangji had no chance to leave Qingshan City unless it was something important. Therefore, Qi Huangji was very generous and hospitable to the adventurers, wanderers, and eccentrics who came from afar. After learning this information, Ji Tianqing roughly understood that Qi Huangji was a free, undisciplined, and unambitious dandy. Fortunately, this foppish young master's nature wasn't bad, and he wasn't annoying. After settling Ji Tianqing down, the shopkeeper took his leave and left Qilan courtyard. 2 slender and enchanting maidservants of the Fox God clan entered the room, preparing to help Ji Tianqing undress and bathe. Ji Tianqing waved his hand to dismiss them, and entered the secret room to practice alone. There were several divine formations set up in the 10-meter square secret room. If one cultivated here, they would not be disturbed. Ji Tianqing summoned the 9th heaven 10 Absolutes Pagoda and summoned Yunyao, Ji Ku, and the others. Swoosh! 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 Yunyao, Ji Ku, Ji Wushuang, White Dragon, Xian Yu, and Black Dragon appeared in the secret room. The secret room was not big to begin with, and it looked a little cramped. Little fox, shrink your body. You're squeezing us. Black Dragon, curl up. Your tail is poking me. White Dragon glared at Qian Yu and Black Dragon, then growled in a low voice. After Qian Yu shrank into a watermelon-sized furball, Black Dragon curled up his body, and the secret room became a little more spacious. White Dragon couldn't wait to ask, "Master, have we left the lightning pool? Where are we?" Yunyao looked at Ji Tianqing and asked, "Tianqing, did you run into any trouble when you left the lightning pool?" Ji Ku asked, "Brother Tianqing, have you settled down? Which continent are we on?" Ji Tianqing raised his hand to signal for everyone to be quiet. He said calmly, "Don't worry, everyone. Although something happened when I left the lightning pool, I'm safe now." Then, he told everyone what happened after he left the lightning pool. After everyone heard what he said, they felt that it was a close call and started discussing. "I didn't expect the Great Yen Celestial tribe to be so despicable. They actually took the resources of the Ascenders and sent them to the mines to do hard labor. Blue Mountain City's guards are searching for Brother Tianqing everywhere. We're not far from here, and it's dangerous. Old Ji is lucky to have met Zhu Qingcheng and young Master Qi. That's how we settled down in Green Mountain City." "Master, how long do you plan to stay in Green Mountain City?" Ji Tianqing said calmly, "The heavenly realm now is no longer the heavenly realm of the past. The Azura God King saw through the secrets of the heavens and took the final step to break through to the God Emperor realm. Now, he rules the entire boundless heaven continent and has set strict rules. He even forces the people of the world to worship him regularly and provide him with power of faith. It's clear that he's plotting something. On the boundless heaven continent, all divine nations have a household registration system. Without a household registration card, it's difficult to move around. At any time, you might be captured and sent to the mines to do hard labor. That's why we'll stay in Green Mountain City for a while. At the very least, I have to get you a household registration card so you can have a legal identity. Also, I suspect that the Azura God Emperor is the backer of the Heaven Punishers. No matter if it's old or new, I must settle it with him. I must kill him for revenge. Ji Ku frowned and thought for a moment. Then, he asked doubtfully, Brother Tianqing, we're weak now. We don't have the right to take revenge at all. We have to lie low and wait until we're strong enough to take revenge on the Azura God Emperor. Also, when the God King's clone descended to the mortal realm, the divine abilities and power attributes he used were not like the Azura God Emperor's. I think that the Heaven Punisher's backers might be the other God Kings. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said, I've also thought about this question, but I can't confirm the answer for now. I even suspect that the other peak God Kings have also broken through to the God Emperor realm and ruled other continents. However, with our current strength, we can't leave the boundless heaven continent, let alone cross the sea and go to other continents. Therefore, we can only stay in the boundless heaven continent and slowly plan and investigate the truth. Everyone nodded in agreement. Yun Yao said, Tianqing, we all support your decision. This is the northernmost part of the boundless heaven continent. The terrain is very remote. If we accumulate strength here, we won't be noticed by the Azura God Emperor. We're not afraid of him seeing through our identities. The most important thing now is that we have to get a household registration card as soon as possible so that we can move freely. Tianqing, what are your plans? Ji Tianqing said in a low voice, if we want to develop steadily, we have to hide our identities and erase all traces of the past. There are 7 people who have seen my real face and know that I'm an ascender. I killed Lin Wuji and the 5 Thunder Pool guards. Only Zhu Qingqing is still alive. Also, he saw me kill Lin Wuji with his own eyes. He will definitely guess that I have the Heavenly Dao's opportunity. No matter what, I can't join the Origin Returning Association. I won't have any contact with them in the future. Even the household registration card in my hands must be replaced as soon as possible. When I entered Qingshan City, I had already changed my appearance. I looked like an ordinary God race member. This way, I won't attract attention. Next, I plan to use Qi Huanji to change our identities. Chapter 2783. 2 hours later, everyone finished their discussion. Yun Yao, Ji Ku, and the others hadn't obtained their household registration cards yet, so they couldn't show up for the time being. They returned to the 9 Heavens 10 Absolutes Tower and continued to cultivate in seclusion. Ji Tianqing walked out of the secret room and left the Autumn Orchid Courtyard alone. He strolled in Green Mountain City, secretly observing the city with his divine sense to understand the layout and situation. At the same time, he was also silently collecting all kinds of information. There was information about Green Mountain City, the city lord's mansion, the city guards, and the major families in the city. When night fell, Ji Tianqing returned to the Star Moon Pavilion and entered the Autumn Orchid Courtyard. Through an afternoon of investigation, he collected a lot of useful information. In Green Mountain City, the city lord's mansion was undoubtedly the overlord. The current city lord was a divine lord. Because he rarely acted in the past few hundred years, his realm was unknown. In addition, there were 2 other divine lords in the city lord's mansion. Their strength was between the 1st and 2nd level, and they were the deputy city lord and the superintendent of the city guards. Second only to the city lord's mansion were the 5 major families. Among them was the Qi family, which was mainly involved in the pet business and had a network of connections in more than 40 cities. The current family head, Qi Tianlong, broke through to the Divine Lord realm 10 years ago. The Qi family was developing rapidly and had strong financial resources. The other 4 major families were all noble families with thousands of years of history. In terms of financial resources, they were naturally inferior to the Qi family, but their backers and forces were more powerful. In addition, Ji Tianqing also found a very important piece of information. 3 days later, a grand event would be held in Green Mountain City. The city lord's mansion took the lead and the 5 major families jointly organized a martial arts competition in the city square. The 6 major forces would each send 2 young geniuses, and the winner would be determined in a martial arts competition under the witness of all the people in the city. The force with the highest ranking would obtain the 10-year use of the Dark Light Cave. This was a grand event that was held once every 10 years, and it attracted the attention and discussion of the entire city. Millions of commoners were discussing this matter in secret, discussing which genius was stronger and had the highest chance of winning. When Ji Tianqing heard this news, he was still a little confused. So, he asked the people and understood the whole story. The cause of this matter had to be explained 70 years ago. 800,000 kilometers to the north of Qingshan City was the Sea of the Setting Sun. 70 years ago, several experts from the Qi family and the Qi family were hunting for mythical beasts in the coastal waters of the Setting Sun Sea region and accidentally discovered a mysterious island. Several experts entered the isolated island and chased after the 2 divine beasts. They unintentionally entered a mysterious cave. As a result, the strength of the 2 divine beasts increased dramatically in the cave, killing and injuring several experts. Only 2 experts were still alive. They hurriedly retreated from the mysterious cave and sent a request for help to their respective families. The experts from the Qi clan and Qi clan rushed to the isolated island and started investigating the mysterious cave. They successfully captured 2 divine beasts and discovered a secret. Inside that mysterious cave, there were not only colorful profound lights, but also incomparably rich divine stones and metal ores. However, there were several powerful divine beasts in the cave, as well as several monarch-grade divine formations of the Sea Beast clan. The Qi family and the Qi family did not have any divine lord experts. After paying a huge price, they were still unable to occupy the cave. Thus, they secretly found the city lord's mansion and asked for help. If they successfully occupied the cave, the 3 forces would divide the divine-level stone and divine gold mines equally. However, the 2 divine lords sent by the city lord's mansion also suffered great losses one after another. When the news spread, the other 3 great families also came out in full force and rushed over to help. Hence, the 6 great forces joined forces and each displayed their abilities. They racked their brains and methods before killing the divine beasts in the cave and cracking the divine formations left behind by the Sea Beast clan. After the 6 great forces occupied the mysterious cave, they named it Mystic Light Cave. However, they were unable to come to an agreement on the issue of resource distribution. The various forces put forward various conditions, wanting to obtain more resources and treasures. In the end, the city lord made the final decision. Every 10 years, the 6 great forces would conduct a martial arts competition. Whoever won would be able to control the Mystic Light Cave for 10 years. For the sake of fairness, Divine Lord Realm experts were not allowed to participate. Only young disciples below the Divine Lord Realm and within 1,000 years old were qualified to participate in the martial arts competition. This compromise received the approval of the several great families. But the following 60 years made the 5 great families so depressed that they vomited blood. The city lord's mansion won all 6 martial arts competitions in a row. There was no choice. The city lord's son was seriously too strong. He had long reached the half-step Divine Lord realm. The young disciples of the 5 great families were all defeated under his sword. Hence, the city lord's mansion suppressed all heroes. In these 70 years, it had always been the city lord's mansion occupying the Mystic Light Cave, wantonly extracting the divine stones and resources inside. The 5 great families burned with anxiety when they saw this, jealous until their eyes turned red. But they could not violate the agreement and could only fiercely drill their family disciples. The 5 great families were all looking forward to the next martial arts competition, their family disciples could defeat the city lord's son and seize back the mystic light cave. In another 3 days' time, it would be the 7th martial arts competition. Ji Tianqing immediately understood. No wonder Qi Huangji was in a bad mood and came out alone to relieve his boredom. Ho. Although Qi Huangji has 9th level celestial deity strength, he's also pulling up seedlings to help them grow, his foundation weak. With his combat strength, facing off against a half-step divine lord realm expert, he'll definitely be defeated in less than 10 moves. Ji Tianqing secretly pondered and had an idea very soon. However, he could not take the initiative for this matter. He had to get Qi Huangji to speak first, then he would seize the opportunity to take action. Only then could the plan go smoothly. Hence, he meditated and cultivated in the hidden chamber, waiting silently. Without his orders, the guards and 2 maids did not dare to disturb him. Before he knew it, a whole day had passed. No one stepped into Chilon courtyard. It was time for the evening lights to be lit again. Ji Tianqing was still cultivating in the hidden chamber, not in a hurry at all. Time passed silently, for hours later, it was late at night. Suddenly, the guard's voice came from outside the hidden chamber. Reporting to young Master Tianqing, an important guest has come to visit. Hearing the guard's report, Ji Tianqing opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. He's really here. He did not know anyone in Qingshan City. Other than Qi Huangji, who else would come to visit him? Hence, Ji Tianqing got up and left the hidden chamber, walking toward the living room. As soon as he stepped into the living room, he saw Qi Huangji sitting at the table, looking dejected and depressed. Qi Huangji was holding a wine cup and drinking by himself, while 2 maids of the Divine Fox clan were massaging his shoulders and legs. Ji Tianqing greeted him with a smile and asked knowingly, "Young Master Qi, what brings you here so late at night?" Qi Huangji gestured for him to sit down and poured him a cup of wine, saying, "The night is long, and I'm not in the mood to sleep. Since I have nothing to do, I came to visit Brother Tianqing and have a drink with you." Ji Tianqing held the wine cup but did not drink. He smiled and said, "Looking at your worried face, you must have something on your mind. I'm curious, what in Qingshan City can make young Master Qi so anxious?" Chapter 2784. Qi Huangji was also an interesting person. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be close friends with Ji Tianqing, nor would they confide in him. At most, they would say a few perfunctory words and wouldn't tell him the real reason. Of course, most people wouldn't ask Ji Tianqing to stay in Chilon courtyard after meeting him. It was too expensive. Qi Huangji put down his wine cup and stared straight at Ji Tianqing. "Brother Tianqing, do you really want to know the reason?" Ji Tianqing maintained his smile and nodded. Qi Huangji hesitated for a moment, then dismissed the 2 maids. When only he and Ji Tianqing were left in the living room, he lowered his voice and said, "Brother Tianqing, let me ask you a question first. If your parents love you very much, but they force you to do something impossible, what will you do?" Ji Tianqing said without hesitation, "As long as you dare to think and do it, there's nothing impossible in this world." Qi Huangji was stunned for a moment, then gave him a thumbs up. "Brother Tianqing, you're really an interesting and special person. However, I really can't do it. You know Yuan Jie, right? He's the eldest son of the Qingshan City Lord, our young lord. He was born more than 90 years after me, but he became a half-step divine lord 80 years ago. My father forced me to defeat him, or I would have to marry into the Sky Snow City's Ning family and marry that iceberg Ning Siyuan." "Marry into the Sky Snow City's Ning family? Marry that iceberg?" Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help laughing. "Isn't it funny?" Qi Huangji said with a bitter smile on his face. "Everyone in Qingshan City thinks it's hilarious and absurd. It's so ridiculous, but my parents agreed to it. When I was 10 years old, my father set up a marriage agreement with the Ning family. That iceberg is in my house. My parents treat her like the apple of their eye, but they give me the cold shoulder. I have a home that I can't go back to. After Qi Huangji finished speaking, he poured 3 more cups of wine and drank them all in one gulp. Perhaps he felt that the wine cup was too small to satisfy his craving, so he picked up the wine pot and was about to pour it into his mouth. Ji Tianqing reached out and pressed down on the wine jug. He restrained his smile and asked seriously, "Young Master Qi, getting drunk can solve 1,000 worries, but it can't break your engagement with Miss Ning. Let me ask you, is Ms. Ning's family also in the pet business?" When he asked this question, he thought of the caravan he had encountered when he entered the city gate. That 3-eyed woman in silver armor should be Ning Siyuan. Qi Huangji paused for a moment, then nodded. "Yes. It seems that you haven't been idle for the past 2 days. Have you gone out to gather information?" Ji Tianqing didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "Is Miss Ning's family more powerful than your Qi family?" "Of course." Qi Huangji quickly nodded and explained, "My family is the richest in Green Mountain City, and the Ning family is the richest in Sky Snow City." Qingshan City was a small city in a remote area, while Sky Snow City was a county city, one of the 10 most prosperous main cities of the Blood Flame Divine Country. For example, the Ning family is a resplendent palace, and my family is a shabby thatched hut. My father can't wait to curry favor with the Ning family. How would he dare to break off the engagement? Besides, Ning Siyuan is as cold as an iceberg. She's beautiful, ruthless, and strong. How would I dare to provoke her? Qi Huangji complained again and again, with a pitiful look. Ji Tianqing continued to ask, "Your father forced you to defeat Yuan Jie because of the Cave of Dark Light, right?" Qi Huangji nodded. "Yes, it's not a secret. You can ask anyone about it. The martial arts competition will be held in 2 days. Not to mention that I can't beat Yuan Jie, the other 4 young masters will also be beaten to a pulp by Yuan Jie. But Yuan Jie is very arrogant. Every time he beats us, he humiliates us and makes a few cold gestures, making the girls in the city scream." Ji Tianqing could tell that Qi Huangji was prejudiced against Yuan Jie. He thought for a moment and asked, "Since Miss Ning is engaged to you, then she's your fiancée. Since she came to Qingshan City, she can represent your Qi family in the martial arts competition. I heard that she's also a half-step divine sovereign. She should be able to match Yuan Jie." Qi Huangji stared straight at Ji Tianqing and smiled bitterly. "Brother, why are you like my father?" Ji Tianqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Bah, what I mean is." Qi Huangji reacted and quickly corrected himself. "Why do you think the same as my parents?" "Can't I?" Ji Tianqing asked. "Of course not." Qi Huangji put down his wine cup and explained, "Although I'm engaged to Ning Siyuan, I'm marrying into her family. I'll be ridiculed by the world. Besides, I don't like her, and she looks down on me. Why would she help me? Besides, the city lord's mansion and the other aristocratic families know that she's the daughter of the Ning family. She won't marry into my Qi family. Even if she wants to participate, the city lord's mansion and the aristocratic families won't agree." "I see." Only then did Ji Tianqing understand the situation. He muttered, "I thought she came to Qingshan City at this time to help your Qi clan." Qi Huangji waved his hand. "You're overthinking. Ji Tianqing asked again, "Is the Dark Light Cave really that important?" "Of course." Qi Huangji explained in a firm tone, "Let me put it this way. Our Qi family's pet business can earn us hundreds of millions of divine stones a year. But 1 year of mining in the Dark Light Cave is equivalent to 20 years of business for my family. No wonder the aristocratic families are jealous." Ji Tianqing nodded to show that he understood. Qi Huangji smiled bitterly. "It's useless to be jealous. Yuan Jie is abnormally strong." Ji Tianqing asked again, every aristocratic family can send 2 people to participate in the battle. Your Qi family is so rich. Don't you have other experts? Don't mention it. Qi Huangji shook his head and said, my talent is already the highest in the Qi family, but I forced myself to reach the 9th stage. Ji Tianqing frowned and asked in confusion, only the family's disciples can participate in the battle. Can't they send their family retainers and masters? Qi Huangji was stunned for a moment and nodded. That's possible. However, the participants must meet 2 conditions, under 1,000 years old and under the Divine Lord realm. Those who meet these 2 conditions and can defeat Yuan Jia are definitely geniuses. Why would they come to a small place like Qingshan City? After a moment of silence, Qi Huangji suddenly thought of something and stared at Ji Tianqing with shining eyes. Brother Tianqing, you're asking so many questions. Don't tell me, you want to help me solve my problem? Ji Tianqing thought to himself, we've talked for so long and you only reacted now. Isn't your reaction too slow? He thought so, but he wouldn't say it out loud. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, young Master Qi and I hit it off at first sight and you've taken good care of me. If I can help you with this, I'll do my best. Qi Huangji's eyes lit up as he asked with anticipation, Brother Tianqing, do you meet the conditions to participate in the battle? Of course. Then do you have the confidence to defeat Yuan Jie? Qi Huangji was even more expectant. Ji Tianqing smiled and nodded. Easy as pie. Chapter 2785. Beihai Street, the most prosperous street in the city. The famous Qi mansion was located at the end of the street. This magnificent mansion occupied an area of nearly 10 miles and could accommodate nearly 10,000 people. Inside the mansion, there was a small lake as bright as a mirror, a lush green hill, and a large garden full of flowers. Even though it was late at night, the Qi mansion was still brightly lit and filled with people. Just in terms of guards and servants, the Qi family had more than 3,000 people. Only the wealthiest family in Qingshan City, the Qi family, had such wealth. At this moment, in the main hall of the Qi mansion, Master Qi Tianlong and Mistress Qin Peipei were watching 2 shadow puppets with a silver-armored woman. The masters who performed the shadow puppets were invited by the Qi family from Tianfeng County at an exorbitant price. In order to please the silver-armored woman, Qi Tianlong and his wife put in a lot of effort. Many elders, deacons, and young disciples of the Qi family were lucky enough to watch the shadow puppets. They were all dazzled and intoxicated. At the head of the table, the burly and dignified Qi Tianlong sat in the main seat. On the surface, he was staring at the shadow puppets in the main hall, but in reality, he was secretly observing the silver-armored woman's reaction. He couldn't help it. The silver-armored woman from the three-eyed godly clan was too honorable. She was Qi Huangji's fiancée, the eldest daughter of the Ning family from Tianxua City, Ning Xiyuan. Mistress Qin Peipei was dressed elegantly and gracefully. She personally sat beside Ning Xiyuan and chatted with her from time to time. However, Ning Xiyuan was not interested in the shadow puppets. Most of the time, she was silent. No one knew what was on her mind. Ever since she came to Qingshan City, she had never left her silver armor. She had a cold attitude that kept people away. Even now, in the main hall of the Qi mansion, she was still wearing her silver armor and only took off her helmet. She had a fair and delicate face and a pair of deep, icy blue eyes, which added a mysterious and cold temperament to her beautiful face. The young disciples of the Qi family sitting around the main hall couldn't help but glance at her. Many people were jealous and secretly sighed. Just how capable was the young master, Qi Huangji, to be able to set up an engagement with such a proud daughter of heaven? What a beautiful and noble woman. Her status was noble, and her talent and strength were superior to those of her generation. She was simply a goddess in the hearts of countless men. Even if he married into the Ning family and became a laughingstock, it was still worth it. Unfortunately, Qi Huangji did not know how to appreciate his good fortune and actually rejected this marriage. He simply did not know what was good for him and was recklessly wasting God's gift. Not long after, the two shadow puppets finished, and the masters left the stage. The elders, deacons, and disciples of the Qi family also bowed and left. Only Qi Tianlong, Qin Peipei, and Ning Siyuan were left in the brightly lit hall. Qi Tianlong nodded to Ning Siyuan and asked kindly, "Miss Siyuan, tonight several masters performed God Emperor Evil and Ding 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 the World. When I saw it, my heart was stirred and I felt great respect for it. What do you think?" Ning Siyuan nodded calmly and said, "It's all right." Her voice was clear and melodious, like a silver bell, very pleasant to listen to. Qi Tianlong was startled and a little embarrassed. Obviously, Ning Siyuan was not very interested in this. Qin Peipei hurriedly smoothed things over and said with a smile, "Master, Siyuan is a heroine, a heroine. She usually puts her mind on the family business and cultivation. Why would she care about these small tricks?" She took Ning Siyuan's hand and explained, "Siyuan, we were afraid that you would feel bored and unhappy staying in the Qi family, so we invited the masters to perform for you to relieve your boredom." Ning Siyuan nodded politely and said calmly, "I've troubled uncle and auntie." Qi Tianlong quickly waved his hand and said, "Miss Siyuan, you're too polite. Back then, your father and I were friends who went through life and death together. Not only are you the daughter-in-law of the Qi family, but you're also my precious daughter in my heart." Qi Tianlong's words were half true and half false. Ning Siyuan was obviously not good at pleasantries. She just nodded and did not say anything else. Qin Peipei held her hand and said, "Siyuan, it's late now. Auntie will send you back to rest." Ning Siyuan quickly shook her head, "Siyuan is a junior. How could I trouble auntie to send me back?" Qin Peipei smiled and quickly ordered the maids to bring Ning Siyuan back to rest. Ning Siyuan walked to the door of the main hall and suddenly stopped. She turned her head and asked, "Oh right, why didn't Huangji show up tonight? I've been in the Qi family for 2 days, and he only greeted me twice. I didn't see him at all. If he doesn't want to see me, I'll leave tomorrow." Before Ning Siyuan could finish, Qi Tianlong quickly interrupted and explained, "Miss Siyuan, you've misunderstood. Huangji misses you day and night and has deep feelings for you. How could he avoid meeting you? He's busy and has no time to leave. You also know that the martial arts competition is the day after tomorrow. He's busy with it." Qin Peipei quickly nodded in agreement to help Qi Huangji. Ning Siyuan would not be fooled. She frowned slightly and said, "Huangji is no match for the young master. No matter how busy he is these days, it's useless. I heard that he has a wide circle of friends and has won over a group of strange people from all over the world. He often takes them to drink and have fun." She was obviously saying that Qi Huangji did not return home in the middle of the night and went out to fool around again. Qi Tianlong and Qin Peipei were both very embarrassed. They were angry and wanted to beat Qi Huangji up right now. But the most important thing now was to clear Qi Huangji's name. How could they let Ning Siyuan misunderstand? Qin Peipei quickly explained, "Siyuan, these are all rumors from the idle people in the city. Don't take them seriously. Huangji is a little slow, playful, and undisciplined, but he's not a bad person. But his character is not bad. He is definitely not a frivolous playboy who indulges in wine and women." "Yes." Ning Siyuan nodded slightly and said indifferently, "It's best that he's not. Otherwise, he'll be criticized when he joins the Ning family." Before she could finish, hurried footsteps suddenly came from outside the hall. "Father! Mother! I have an idea." Qi Huangji's joyful voice could be heard from afar even when they were still 1,000 feet away. Qi Tianlong, Qin Peipei, Ning Siyuan, and the two maids immediately looked up at the entrance of the hall. Under everyone's gaze, Qi Huanji, whose face was flushed and slightly tipsy, walked quickly to the entrance of the hall. Behind him was a burly young man in a white robe from the divine clan. Obviously, it was Ji Tianqing. The two of them were discussing in the Moonstar Pavilion. Ji Tianqing said that he could defeat Yuan Jie. Qi Huanji could not wait to drag him back to the Qi residence to tell his parents the good news. However, when he stepped into the hall with Ji Tianqing, he found that his parents' expressions were strange. Ning Xiyuan's eyes were also a little cold. Chapter 2786. The hall fell into a brief silence. Qi Tianlong was the first to speak, breaking the silence. Huanji, you were busy until late at night and couldn't accompany Miss Xiyuan. Why aren't you apologizing? Qi Huanji came to his senses and hurriedly bowed to Ning Xiyuan. Miss Xiyuan, please forgive me for not being a good host. Ning Xiyuan looked at him indifferently and said calmly, Young Master Qi, you're too polite. I'm glad I didn't interrupt your drinking. Qi Huanji was stunned. Qi Tianlong and Qin Peipei felt even more awkward, but they couldn't explain anything. It seemed that this misunderstanding couldn't be resolved. Ji Tianqing didn't say anything and secretly sized up Ning Xiyuan. Just as he guessed, the silver-armored woman he met outside the city gate was Qi Huanji's fiancée. Qi Tianlong glared at Qi Huanji and shouted coldly, You bastard, instead of coming home late at night, you're drinking yourself into a stupor outside. What are you doing? Go kneel in the ancestral hall now and apologize to Miss Xiyuan when you're sober. Qi Tianlong was furious, and his divine lord aura swept toward Qi Huanji. He hated Qi Huanji for not living up to his expectations, but he also did it to appease Ning Xiyuan's anger. After all, they were still trying to clear Qi Huanji's name. They didn't expect to be slapped in the face in the blink of an eye. Huh? Qi Huanji was stunned. He asked unwillingly, Father, why are you punishing me again? I didn't do anything wrong. I only came back now because I was busy. Look, this is young Master Tianqing. He's the helper I found. Qi Huanji pointed sideways at Ji Tianqing as he spoke. Qi Tianlong, his wife, and Ning Xiyuan immediately looked at Ji Tianqing. It's him. Ning Xiyuan muttered when she saw Ji Tianqing's face and remembered what happened outside the city gate. But she didn't say anything and looked coldly at Ji Tianqing. Qi Tianlong was enraged again and scolded sternly, You bastard. How many times have I told you, don't bring those riffraff back home? What kind of people are they? They're just a bunch of swindlers and good-for-nothings. In the past, Qi of the family to the point that he had even built a special courtyard for them. For him. However, most of those strange people were scammers and scoundrels who only knew how to eat and drink. They had caused a lot of trouble for the Qi family. Naturally, Qi Tianlong hated Ji Tianxing. He pointed at him and ordered, Men, drag this scoundrel out. TSTS. Qi Huanji quickly spread out his arms and shielded Ji Tianqing behind him. He straightened his neck and said to Qi Tianlong, Hold on. Father, this young Master Tianheng is different. I swear on my life that he's different from those dudes. He's trustworthy. Qi Tianlong was even more furious when he saw how much Qi Tianlong trusted Ji Tianqing. He scolded, You bastard. Are you drunk? How could you be fooled by this person? The martial arts competition concerns the fate of the Qi family. What can a swindler like him do? You unfilial son. I'm going to beat you up tonight. Qi Tianlong took out a Zidian whip and was about to teach Qi Tianji a lesson. He was furious and also wanted to save the Qi family's face. He didn't want Ning Xiyuan to despise him. After all, the Ning family didn't see how Qi Tianji fooled around in the past. But tonight was different. Ning Xiyuan saw it with her own eyes. Who knew what she would think? She would probably treat Qi Tianji as a retard. Slap. Qi Tianlong flicked his purple lightning whip and lashed out at Qi Huanji with a series of purple lightning arcs. Qi Tianji stood still and shouted stubbornly, "Father! I didn't do anything wrong." Qin Peipei was anxious. She pulled Qi Tianlong aside and pleaded for her son. "Master, please calm down." However, she was only a level 8 heaven god. How could she stop the furious Qi Tianlong? Ning Xiyuan stood at the side and watched everything coldly with an indifferent expression. The purple electric arc was about to hit Qi Tianji. His skin and flesh would be torn apart and his body would be charred black. At this moment, Qi Tianqing, who had been silent all this time, suddenly stepped forward and stood in front of Qi Tianji. Looking at the incoming purple lightning whip, he calmly stretched out his right hand and opened his 5 fingers to grab it. Bang! There was a muffled sound. The purple electric arc that lit up the hall was instantly extinguished. Qi Tianqing also grabbed Qi Tianlong's Zidian whip. No matter how the whip flickered, he was not affected at all. He held the Zidian whip without moving. The noisy hall suddenly quieted down. Qi Tianlong and Qin Peipei widened their eyes and stared at Qi Tianqing in disbelief. Ning Xiyuan, who was watching coldly from the sidelines, also raised his eyebrows slightly in surprise. Qi Tianqing looked straight at Qi Tianlong and said calmly, "Patriarch Qi, you're a family. If there's anything, you should sit down and talk. Don't disturb our esteemed guest." Qi Tianlong's anger dissipated and he immediately calmed down. He glanced at Ning Xiyuan and then looked deeply at Qi Tianqing. Only then did he put away the Zidian whip. No matter how angry he was, he knew that Qi Tianqing was right. Even if he killed Qi Tianji, it would not change anything. Instead, it would make Ning Xiyuan look down on the Qi family even more. Qi Tianji came to his senses and secretly gave Qi Tianqing a thumbs up. Then, he stared at Qi Tianlong and said happily, "Father, do you see it now? Young Master Tianqing can catch your Zidian whip. It shows that he is extraordinary. He can definitely help us." Qi Tianlong sneered disdainfully and did not bother to explain. Ning Xiyuan said calmly, "Young Master Qi, you are Uncle Qi's son. How could he really hit you? He only used 20% of his strength." What she meant was that Qi Tianlong was acting and she could see through it. Qi Tianlong was ashamed and angry, but he could not defend himself. Qin Peipei quickly mediated and asked, "Huanji, how can this young master help us?" Qi Huanji smiled confidently and said, "We invite young Master Tianqing to represent the Qi family in the martial arts competition." Nonsense! Qi Tianlong was furious again and scolded sternly, "He is so young and he is not even a divine emperor. How can he be our young master? The martial arts competition is of great importance and the lifeline of the Qi family. How can we treat it like a game?" It was true that the governor's mansion and the aristocratic families all wanted to hire a young master. However, only a divine emperor could be a young master to protect the family at critical times. However, a divine emperor was an overlord. How could they be a young master? Even if someone was willing to be a young master, they would have to pay a high price and profit. Therefore, the 5 aristocratic families in the city could not find a suitable young master. Qi Huanji smiled and said, "Father, are you old and confused? If young Master Tianqing is a divine emperor, can he still participate in the martial arts competition? You unfilial son." Qi Tianlong was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He could not help but slap him again. Chapter 2787. Qin Peipei hurriedly patted Qi Tianlong's chest, persuading him to calm down. Ning Xiyuan didn't say a word, secretly releasing her divine sense and secret technique to probe Qi Tianqing's background. However, she couldn't see through Qi Tianqing at all. Everything in front of her was white. Not only could she not see through Ji Tianqing's strength, but she also couldn't see through his true identity. Qi Huangji took the opportunity to persuade Qi Tianlong, "Father, the 5 great families have lost for 60 years anyway, and no one is Yuan Jie's match. If nothing unexpected happens, we will lose again the day after tomorrow. Trust your son this time and give young Master Tianqing a chance. I believe that he can definitely defeat Yuan Jie and help us win the Profound Light Cave." "Humph." Qi Tianlong coldly snorted and said with a cold face, "You don't have to worry about this matter. I have already contacted Blood Sword Sect's Deacon Yi, and he will help us solve this matter. Calculating the time, Deacon Yi would arrive before noon tomorrow. Give your friend 100,000 divine stones and let him leave the Qi family." Qi Tianlong waved his hand and ordered him to leave on the spot. Qi Huangji immediately became anxious and hurriedly shouted, "Father! How can you do this? Not only are you humiliating my friend, but you are also humiliating me." Qi Tianlong left with Qin Peipei, and when he passed by him, he sneered, "You good-for-nothing thing, are you worthy of being humiliated by your father?" Qi Huangji's vision darkened, and his heart ached like a knife. After a while, Qi Tianlong and his wife left. Ning Xiyuan took a deep look at Ji Tianqing before leaving with her 2 maids. At the entrance of the hall, only Qi Huangji and Ji Tianqing were left. Ji Tianqing patted him on the shoulder and said, "Let's go back to the Star Moon Pavilion first." "No." Qi Huangji shook his head and said stubbornly, "If I really let you go to the Star Moon Pavilion, wouldn't I be fulfilling my father's wishes? He wants you to leave, so I must make you stay. Let's go to the mystical scholar courtyard." Then, without waiting for Ji Tianqing's agreement, he pulled him and flew to the backyard. The backyard was a garden with a radius of 3,000 feet. There was a small hill, a small lake, and a forest of pine and bamboo. The eccentric scholar's courtyard was at the back of the garden. This was the most remote place in the Qi residence. Normally, the Qi family's disciples and servants would not dare to approach this place. The front courtyard of the Qi mansion was brightly lit, but the mystical courtyard only had a few lonely lamps, making it seem very dark and quiet. This residence was rather large, with a radius of at least 1,000 feet. In the middle was the main hall, and on both sides were more than 30 guest rooms, all of which were equipped with secret rooms. Qi Huangji led Ji Tianqing into the main hall and sat down in the reception hall. The guard at the door hurriedly went to make tea. At this moment, a dark-skinned old man with unkempt hair and greasy clothes rushed into the living room and shouted excitedly, "Young Master Qi, you're finally back. Quick! Come with me, I have a new invention." As he spoke, the dark and skinny old man pulled Qi Huangji away. Ji Tianqing took a closer look. This old man looked like a chimpanzee, and his hair was as messy as a chicken's nest. He was wearing a high-quality blue robe woven with gold, but it had not been changed for several years. A thick layer of mud had formed on it. Without a doubt, this was one of the eccentrics that Qi Huangji had recruited. Ji Tianqing suddenly understood why Qi Tianlong was furious and hated eccentrics so much. The old man was in high spirits, but Qi Huangji broke free from his claws and asked with a frown, "Old Black, you've been in seclusion for 2.5 years. What have you come up with this time?" The old man excitedly showed off his achievements and said proudly, "I've improved the design of the previous heavenly secret umbrella. Now, not only can it teleport thousands of miles, it can also release 3 types of divine abilities and 9 types of hidden weapons. Its lethality has increased exponentially. The most exciting thing is that I've added a space inside that can store a huge amount of delicacies and divine wine." Qi Huangji was a little surprised. "What's the use of that?" The old man said anxiously, "How is it useless? Think about it, you'll use the heavenly secret umbrella to kill your enemies and make them piss their pants, kneel down and beg for mercy. At that time, you'll be able to put out a table full of delicacies and divine wine with just a thought. While eating and drinking, you'll watch your enemies piss their pants. Bah, watch your enemies kneel down and beg for mercy. Think about it, how majestic and ostentatious that scene is. Isn't this very much in line with the style of young Master Qi? Let your glorious image be remembered by your enemies forever. Qi Huangji did not know whether to laugh or cry. He nodded reluctantly and said, "Yes, what you said makes sense." "Then what are you waiting for? Come with me to admire it." The old man was encouraged and could not wait to pull him out of the living room. Qi Huangji hurriedly waved his hand and comforted him. "Old Black, I have important things to do. You go and study it first and perfect it." He tried his best to appease the old man. Unexpectedly, as soon as the old black devil left, another strong man with red scales all over his body stepped into the living room with a giant sword. "Young Master Qi, I've been waiting for you for a long time. When you begged me to stay in the Qi family, it was because of the once-in-a-decade martial arts competition. I've been cultivating in seclusion for the past 10 years, and I've finally mastered the red wave swordsmanship. Now, please admire my peerless swordsmanship." The strong man was more than 10 feet tall. He had a huge head and a big mouth. His limbs were sharp claws, and he had a big tail behind him. He looked a little like a crocodile, but he was related to the dragon race by blood. This was the warrior of the crocodile dragon race. He was violent and warlike by nature. He was just speaking normally, but his voice was too loud. It was like a bell, shaking the living room. "Red Crocodile, you've mastered the swordsmanship." Qi Huangji stood up in surprise and looked at the red crocodile with shining eyes. However, he soon came to his senses and glanced at Ji Tianqing with a guilty look. It felt like a man meeting his first wife, but there was a mistress by his side. The red crocodile's eyes also fell on Ji Tianqing. He looked at him maliciously and asked, "Young Master Qi, who is this guy? Don't tell me he's a whore you brought back from drinking outside." Qi Huangji was confused. Ji Tianqing did not want to meddle in other people's business. However, when he heard the words, "poor friend," his eyes turned gloomy. "I'm young Master Qi's friend. I'm here to participate in the martial arts competition on behalf of the Qi family," he said in a deep voice. The red crocodile squinted his eyes. His blood-red eyes were burning with a strong desire to fight. "Ha ha ha. You pretty boy, how dare you lie to young Master Qi with your drunken look? How did you defeat Yuan Jie? With your face? Or offer your ass to Yuan Jie?" Ji Tianqing smiled and raised his right hand. He said coldly, "With my fist." As soon as he finished speaking, he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the red crocodile with a golden fist. The red crocodile's expression changed. He instinctively held his giant sword in front of his chest. Bam! A muffled sound was heard. The red crocodile was sent flying. He crashed into a wall and fell into the small lake in the garden, creating a huge splash. Chapter 2788. Boom! A dull sound echoed in the sky above the Qi mansion. The entire eccentric scholar's courtyard and flower garden shook violently. Red Crocodile flew out of the small lake with his giant sword. Swoosh! He landed in the mystical courtyard, his feet cracking the green mound stones on the ground, and his whole body was bursting with bloody flames. However, blood kept flowing out of his mouth and nose, and his body was trembling. It was obvious that he had suffered internal injuries. "Bastard! Come out if you have the guts, I will skin you alive." Red Crocodile was furious, and his voice was as loud as a bell. As soon as he finished speaking, a white shadow flew in from the hall. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. 9 dazzling golden sword lights, along with the 5-colored divine thunder, stabbed at Red Crocodile. Red Crocodile did not dare to let his guard down. He held the giant sword with both hands and used the red wave sword technique. Swoosh! Suddenly, he turned into a bloody fire whirlwind, and instantly slashed out hundreds of flame waves. Bang 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 bang. The dazzling golden sword light and the flame waves collided, and a deafening sound burst out, shaking the mystical courtyard. The ground and the surrounding houses were immediately shattered into dust by the shock wave, leaving pits all over the ground. In the next moment, the flame waves shattered, and a bloody light burst into the sky. Red Crocodile, who was as strong as an iron tower, also fell into the ruins with blood splattering all over his body. His red wave sword technique was broken, and he was hit by 9 swords, and his limbs were almost cut off. There was also a bloody hole in his chest, and blood flowed out. Bang! Ji Tianqing descended from the sky, stepped on Red Crocodile's back, and pressed his head into the soil. Ong! Red Crocodile was furious, and he roared hysterically, struggling desperately. However, Ji Tianqing did not move, and he was suppressed to the point that he could not move. The battle was over. The destructive shockwave also gradually dissipated. Fortunately, the mystical courtyard was protected by a monarch-level divine array. The shock wave from the 2 of them only destroyed the houses on the ground, and did not affect the outside of the courtyard. Qi Huangji stood in the ruins, looking at this scene in shock, and his eyes were shining with excitement. Young Master Tianqing. Aren't you too valiant? He couldn't see through Ji Tianqing's cultivation. After 2 days of contact, he guessed that Ji Tianqing's strength was not ordinary. However, he had never expected Ji Tianqing to be so powerful. This was simply inconceivable. What a surprise! Qi Huangji was shocked and overjoyed. He knew that he had not made a mistake this time. He had placed his bet on the right person. The Scarlet Crocodile was an expert he had recruited 9 years ago. It was bloodthirsty, violent, and had outstanding combat strength. He was at the same cultivation level as the Red Crocodile, so he had fought with it before. In the end, the 2 people only exchanged 30 moves and he was defeated by the Crimson Crocodile. Qi Huangji saw hope and thought that Red Crocodile had a chance to defeat Yuan Jie, so he spent a lot of money to recruit him. In these 9 years, he provided abundant cultivation resources for the Scarlet Crocodile and paid a considerable price. From the looks of it now, it was all a waste. Qi Huangji flew to Ji Tianqing's side and said joyfully, "Brother Tianqing, you've really hidden your strength well. I'm afraid only you can defeat Yuan Jie." Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and pointed at the Scarlet Crocodile under his feet. He asked, "How do you plan to deal with this crocodile dragon?" Qi Huangji thought for a moment and cupped his hands at the Scarlet Crocodile. He said, "Brother Scarlet Crocodile, although you can't help me, I've treated you well these 9 years. After tonight, we're even. You can leave." After saying that, he took out a jade bottle and handed it to the Scarlet Crocodile. "Brother Scarlet Crocodile, there are 2 monarch-grade divine pellets in here. They can be used to heal your injuries." 2 monarch-grade divine pellets were worth a few million divine stones. Ji Tianqing saw Qi Huangji's actions and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Luckily, the Qi family is rich enough. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to withstand such a prodigal. Of course, this was Qi Huangji's matter. He wouldn't interfere. He lifted his right foot and let the Scarlet Crocodile go. The Scarlet Crocodile quickly got up and took Qi Huangji's medicine bottle. He grinned coldly and said, "Young Master Qi, since you don't need me, then I'll take my leave." After saying that, he glared at Ji Tianqing with resentment and said in a deep voice, "Kid, I'll remember you." He enjoyed the treatment of a consecrator in the Qi family and didn't have to worry about cultivation resources. His days were very carefree. But tonight, Ji Tianqing ruined his beautiful life. Cutting off one's path to wealth was like killing one's parents. This enmity was formed. Ji Tianqing glanced at him and couldn't be bothered to pay attention. The Scarlet Crocodile carried the giant sword and left the mystical scholar courtyard dejectedly. Soon, he disappeared into the night. Qi Huanji was still immersed in joy. He was so excited that he couldn't extricate himself. Ji Tianqing pointed at the ruins and said, "I'm sorry for destroying your mystical scholar courtyard." "It's fine, it's fine." Qi Huanji waved his hand and said indifferently, "I'll get the craftsman to repair it later. It will be completed in 2 days. This loss is nothing. To be able to get Brother Tianqing's help, even if I have to destroy 100 mystical scholar courtyards, I'm willing." Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "But we don't have a place to stay tonight." This. Qi Huanji scratched his head and said, "Why don't we go back to the Star Moon Pavilion?" "Okay." Ji Tianqing nodded in agreement. 15 minutes later. The two returned to the Star Moon Pavilion and entered Qilan Courtyard. Qi Huanji was in a good mood. He asked 2 maids to bring wine and dishes and wanted to drink with Ji Tianqing again. Ji Tianqing pressed down on the wine pot and asked seriously, "Young Master Qi, what's the blood sword sect that your father mentioned?" Qi Huanji was stunned. He quickly put down the wine cup and said with a serious expression, "The blood sword sect is one of the 6 great sects of the blood flame divine country. Not to mention Azure Mountain City. In Azure Mountain City, even Tianfeng City has to be respectful to the blood sword sect. The blood sword sect has 9 divine monarchs and the sect master's strength can be ranked in the top 10 of the blood flame divine country. Anyone who can obtain the protection of the blood sword sect will not only have a prosperous business, but their status will also rise." Ji Tianqing roughly understood, "Your father said that Deacon Yi will arrive before noon tomorrow. Did your father ask Deacon Yi for help and make some kind of deal?" Qi Huanji nodded and said, "My father did business in Tianfeng City and cooperated with Deacon Yi twice, so we have some friendship. My father was forced to seek Deacon Ye's help this time. He is a divine monarch and has a high status in the blood sword sect, second only to the elders." Ji Tianqing frowned and said, "Divine monarchs can't participate in the martial competition. Of course it won't be Deacon Yi." Qi Huanji waved his hand and said, "I think Deacon Yi will bring a genius disciple and pretend to be a branch disciple of our Qi family. However, I don't think there's much hope. No matter how outstanding the blood sword sect's disciple is, he might not be Yuan Jie's opponent. Besides, the blood sword sect is a force that eats people without spitting out the bones. They won't help us for no reason. I'm worried that Deacon Yi will take advantage of my father again." Chapter 2789. Ji Tianqing could tell. Qi Huanji was sometimes muddle-headed and absurd, but sometimes righteous and generous. In fact, he was sometimes childish and stubborn. Regardless, Qi Huanji was no fool. He did not have high hopes for Deacon Yi, who was coming tomorrow. "Don't worry, Brother Tianqing. I'll explain the situation to my father and invite you to participate in the martial competition as a venerate. We'll try not to use the blood sword sect as much as possible. My father isn't muddle-headed. He should understand." Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "Young Master Qi, you worry too much. I'm only willing to help you because you're forthright and righteous. I don't care if you're a venerate or not." "Hey, Brother Tianqing, don't say that." Qi Huanji hurriedly waved his hand and said, "I've decided to invite you to be a venerate of the Qi family, and I won't change my mind. Only then can we justify it and shut the mouths of the other aristocratic families. Moreover, you've helped us take back Mystic Light Cave. That's a huge favor. No matter what requests or difficulties you have, as long as the Qi family can do it, we'll do it." Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "It's still too early to talk about this. Let's talk about it after the matter is settled." Hence, the two of them chatted for a while more before they went to rest. The next day, Qi Huanji only woke up late in the morning and asked Ji Tianqing to go to the Qi family with him. Ji Tianqing declined, saying that it was inconvenient for him to show up for the time being and that he would wait for news in the Star Moon Pavilion. Qi Huangji guessed that it had something to do with the Blood Sword sect and did not insist. He left the Star Moon Pavilion alone and rushed back to the Qi residence. Qi Huangji returned to the Qi residence. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he saw 2 house-sized fire sparrows standing in the courtyard. He knew at a glance that they were the mounts of the Blood Sword sect. As expected. In the conference hall of the main hall, Qi Tianlong was entertaining 2 distinguished guests. Qin Peipei and Ning Xiyuan were not in the hall. The 2 guests from the Blood Sword sect were led by a thin man in a black robe with a mustache that resembled the character 8. This person was a member of the Great Yen Divine Clan. His face was thin, and his eyes were sharp and bright. He gave off a sinister aura. Qi Huangji could tell that this person was Deacon Yi. The other guest was a handsome young man from the Great Yen Divine Clan who was nearly 10 feet tall. This person wore a fiery red robe, and his purple hair was tied into a ponytail. There was a green divine jade belt around his waist, and he looked very free and easy. Of course, this handsome red-robed youth was extremely cold and arrogant. He held a purple divine sword in his arms and sat on a chair with his eyes closed. He ignored Qi Tianlong and wanted to turn his nose up at the sky. Qi Huangji sized him up and saw that he was a half-step divine monarch, so he understood his identity. A genius disciple of the Blood Sword sect. At this moment, Qi Tianlong saw Qi Anji outside the hall and shouted, "Anji, come and greet Uncle Yi and Senior Brother Mu." Qi Huangji was displeased, but he could only force himself to enter the main hall and bow. Nephew Qi Huangji greets Uncle Yi. Deacon Yi stroked his mustache and nodded at him without saying anything. Qi Huangji bowed at the red-robed youth. Huangji greets Senior Brother Mu. The red-robed youth still had his eyes closed and did not respond. He ignored Qi Huangji. The atmosphere was slightly awkward, but Qi Tianlong could not be too harsh. Deacon Yi smiled and explained, "Mu Yi is the 4th elder's last disciple and one of the 5 most outstanding geniuses in the sect. He was born like this, and the elders can't do anything about it. Please don't blame him, Patriarch Qi." In other words, Mu Yi was a genius of the sect and was used to being arrogant. It was normal for him to ignore them. Qi Tianlong smiled and said, "It's normal for a young genius to be arrogant." Then, he looked at Qi Huangji and said, "Huangji, Father and Deacon Yi are discussing important matters. Sit down and listen." Qi Huangji nodded in agreement and took a seat at the head of the table. At this moment, Deacon Yi said, "Patriarch Qi, let's continue our conversation. This is Mu Ye's first time in Azure Mountain City, so you can rest assured that the other aristocratic families won't see through his identity. Moreover, even if the 4 aristocratic families and the city lord's mansion find out Mu Ye's identity, they won't dare to become enemies with our Blood Sword sect. Mu Ye's true strength is stronger than Yuan Jie's, so he will definitely help the Qi family take back the Profound Light Cave." Qi Tianlong was overjoyed. Without any worries, he quickly nodded and said, "That's good. 70 years ago, it was our Qi family and the Qi family who discovered the Profound Light Cave. Who would have thought that the city lord's mansion would benefit from it and mine it for 70 years? This time, the Qi family must take back the Profound Light Cave that originally belonged to us." Deacon Yi stroked his beard and said with a smile, "Since this matter will definitely succeed, let's talk about the price. After this matter is done, the Qi family will be responsible for mining the Profound Light Cave, but we want 70% of the divine stones and resources produced every year. Moreover, the Qi family must pledge allegiance to our sect and work for us." Qi Tianlong and Qi Huangji's expressions immediately changed. One had a solemn expression, while the other was angry. Qi Tianlong coughed lightly and squeezed out a smile, saying, "Deacon Yi, isn't this condition a bit too harsh? Our Qi family will be responsible for mining and will need a lot of manpower and resources, but we can only get 30%. As for pledging allegiance to the Blood Sword sect, this matter can be discussed later. What do you think? Deacon Yi smiled and shook his head, saying, our sect has a large business and tens of thousands of disciples to support. We must take 70%. This is also the opinion of the elders. There's no room for discussion. Moreover, after the Qi family pledges allegiance to our sect, you will receive our protection and your business will be even more prosperous in the future. Qi Tianlong's face sank. He was well aware that the Blood Sword sect was taking advantage of the situation. Moreover, once the Qi family pledged allegiance to the Blood Sword sect, they would become the Blood Sword sect's bank and servant. The Blood Sword sect would have to give them money and manpower whenever they wanted. With the protection of the Blood Sword sect, the Qi family's business would indeed rise to another level. However, no matter how much money the Qi family earned, it would still be to serve the Blood Sword sect. After a moment of silence, Qi Tianlong probed, Deacon Yi, can you take a step back for the sake of our friendship? Why don't we split it 50-50? Deacon Yi raised his eyebrows and sneered playfully, Patriarch Qi, I'm afraid you won't be able to achieve great things with such indecisiveness. I won't hide it from you. Not only did your Qi family contact me, but the Qi family and Lu family also invited me to be a guest. If you don't want to seize this opportunity, then I can only take my leave and make a trip to the Qi family and Lu family. Patriarch Qi, for the sake of our past relationship, I'll give you 10 breaths of time to consider. Qi Tianlong's expression changed, and a deep hatred flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that the other two families would also contact Deacon Yi. This was troublesome. Before he could say anything, the furious Qi Huanji couldn't hold back and coldly shouted, Deacon Yi, you're looting a burning house. You've gone too far. Won't your shameless actions tarnish the reputation of the Blood Sword sect? Mu Yi, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened them. He coldly glanced at Qi Huanji and sneered, a frog at the bottom of a well dares to criticize a deacon of our sect? Trash, I'll make you kneel and beg for mercy on the stage tomorrow. Chapter 2790. The moment Qi Huanji opened his mouth, it meant that the negotiation between the two sides had failed. Mu Yi said ruthlessly, got up and left with the divine sword in his arms. Deacon Yi was too lazy to bow and say goodbye. He waved his sleeves and left the main hall. Qi Tianlong was unwilling to give up. He wanted to catch up with Deacon Yi and ask him to make an exception. But Qi Huanji was full of vigor and pulled him back. Deacon Yi also swaggered away without any intention of stopping. After a while, Deacon Yi and Mu Yi left the Qi family. In the meeting hall, only Qi Tianlong and his son were left. This time, Qi Tianlong was not angry, nor did he scold Qi Huanji. Like a deflated ball, he fell into a chair with a dejected look and looked at Qi Huanji with dim eyes. Forget it. Our Qi family doesn't have that kind of life, and we can't keep the great wealth of the mysterious light cave. Anyway, in the past 70 years, we didn't get the mysterious light cave. Seeing his father's look of despair, Qi Huanji quickly persuaded, Father, don't be discouraged, I still have a way. Without waiting for him to finish, Qi Tianlong continued, Huanji, although you act absurdly, you still have the courage of the Qi family. Father is comforted. Go and prepare for tomorrow's martial arts competition. Even if we can't beat them, we have to fight on the stage. Even if we lose, we have to try our best to be dignified. Qi Huanji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly comforted, Father, don't say that. We still have hope. I'll ask young Master Tianqing to come over right away. Let's plan this matter well. Qi Tianlong suddenly frowned and shouted in a deep voice, that boy last night. Didn't I ask you to give him 100,000 god stones and send him away? Father. Qi Huanji shouted with a solemn face and said righteously, can't you trust me this once? Just this once. Do you still remember the red crocodile I recruited 9 years ago? Qi Tianlong saw his son's solemn expression, sat up straight and nodded, "Of course I remember. That red crocodile's combat strength is good, much stronger than yours. But it's hopeless to count on him to deal with Yuan Jie." Qi Huangji revealed a proud smile and said confidently, "Last night, young Master Tianqing exchanged 2 blows with him and destroyed the entire mystical scholars' courtyard." "Yes, that foul place, it's good that it's destroyed." Qi Tianlong nodded happily. Qi Huangji was speechless and his face darkened. However, this was not the main point. He was too lazy to waste his breath on his father and continued, "Father, what do you think the result is? The red crocodile won?" Qi Tianlong raised his eyebrows and asked. "No." Qi Huangji quickly shook his head and held up 2 fingers. He laughed and said, "Child Tianqing has won. Furthermore, he only used 2 moves and severely injured the scarlet crocodile." Qi Tianlong's body stiffened. His eyes widened in disbelief. That kid only used 2 moves to defeat the crimson crocodile? Of course. Qi Huangji nodded excitedly and added, "I saw it with my own eyes." Qi Tianlong fell silent. After frowning and pondering for a moment, he nodded slightly and said, "Since that's the case, that kid does have some ability. Although he may not be able to defeat Yuan Jie and Mu Yi, it's not hopeless." Qi Huangji patted his chest and said, "Father, I can guarantee that Yuan Jie and Mu Yi are no match for him." "Don't be so sure." Qi Tianlong glanced at him and said in a deep voice, "I can trust you this time and allow that kid to participate in the battle for the Qi family. However, you have to ask him what his conditions are first." Qi Huangji replied without hesitation, "He will be our Qi family's consecrator." Qi Tianlong frowned and slammed his palm on the table. He scolded, "Nonsense. What right does a kid have to be our Qi family's consecrator? There's no room for discussion. At most, we will give him 20 million god stones. If he succeeds and helps the Qi family win the Dark Light Cave, we will reward him with another 100 million god stones." Qi Huangji fell silent and stared at Qi Tianlong with a strange expression. Qi Tianlong looked up and found that his son's eyes were full of contempt and disdain. He flew into a rage and shouted, "Unfilial son, what is the meaning of this?" Qi Huangji sneered and shook his head, "Deacon Yi is so arrogant. He wants 70% of the Dark Light Cave's output and wants our Qi family to be the blood sword sect's lackey. You actually want to consider and negotiate with him for such despicable and shameless conditions? And now, young Master Tianqing can help us win the Dark Light Cave, but you are so stingy. 20 million god stones. Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? Qi Tianlong, I used to be proud of you. But now, ha ha ha." Qi Huangji sneered contemptuously and turned to leave. This was the first time in his life that he had called his father by his name and humiliated his father to his face. Qi Tianlong was stunned on the spot and stared at him in disbelief. After coming back to his senses, Qi Tianlong flew into a rage. His face was ashen and he almost drew his sword. "Unfilial son! You unfilial son!" However, after roaring twice, Qi Tianlong gradually calmed down. "Qi Huangji! Stop right there." He suddenly stood up and shouted in a dignified tone. Qi Huangji stopped in his tracks, turned around, and looked at him expressionlessly. Qi Tianlong clenched his teeth and made up his mind. He shouted, "Fine. You unfilial son, you're all grown up now. I'll believe you this time and give you a chance to make him a consecrator." Qi Huangji was stunned for a moment, then his face was full of joy. He bowed and said, "I thank you on behalf of young Master Tianqing." Qi Tianlong was even more annoyed when he saw his expression change so quickly. He scolded, "What are you waiting for? Go and bring him here." "Yes, sir." Qi Huangji replied, then turned around and ran off happily. Qi Tianlong watched his back disappear and muttered angrily, "Sooner or later, I'll be angered to death by this unfilial son. Half an hour later. Qi Huanji took Ji Tianqing and stepped into the Qi mansion once again. At this time, Qi Tianlong had already calmed down and was sitting in the study waiting. Qi Huanji took Ji Tianqing directly to the study to discuss the matter. After the two sides met, there was no greeting or pleasantries. Ji Tianqing cupped his hands and Qi Tianlong nodded as a greeting. After Qi Huanji and Ji Tianqing sat down, Qi Tianlong asked directly, "Young Master Tianqing, how confident are you in defeating Yuan Jie?" 100%, Ji Tianqing said with an indifferent expression. Qi Tianlong frowned, feeling that he was unreliable. He looked quiet and low-key, but in fact, he was confident and arrogant. Qi Tianlong asked again, "Now, besides Yuan Jie, there's another strong enemy, the genius disciple of the blood sword sect, Mu Yi. He's also a half-step divine lord. Are you confident in defeating him?" 100%. Ji Tianqing's expression didn't change as he repeated the two words. Qi Tianlong was so angry that his eyebrows twitched. He shouted angrily, "You haven't even seen Mu Yi and you dare to boast like this? Kid, are you too arrogant, or do you take me for a fool?" Ji Tianqing was still calm and said calmly, "I'm invincible below the divine lord level." Chapter 2791. Qi Huanji was stunned. His eyes widened as he stared at Ji Tianqing in awe. He was so excited that his body trembled. "Brother, you're awesome." He gave Ji Tianqing a thumbs up and roared in his heart. Qi Tianlong stood up with a swoosh. He was so angry that he laughed. "Ha ha ha. What an arrogant and ignorant boy. I've lived for more than 5,000 years and I've never seen anyone more arrogant than you." Qi Tianlong regretted agreeing to Qi Huanji's request. He even wanted to hang Qi Huanji up and give him a good beating. Qi Huanji was so stupid that he found a lunatic to serve him. He was the head of the Qi family, a divine lord. How could he agree to such a crazy request? Was the world crazy? The atmosphere in the study was strange. Qi Tianlong and his son were both agitated. One was excited, while the other was furious. Only Ji Tianqing was still sitting there calmly, without the slightest fluctuation in his emotions. He even picked up the teacup and slowly took a sip. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from outside the study. "Invincible below the divine lord level." As the voice fell, a graceful silver figure appeared at the door of the study. It was Ning Xiyuan. As usual, she was wearing a silver armor without a helmet. In all fairness, she was indeed a rare beauty. Even though she was wearing silver armor, her figure was still hot. It was unknown how many young men adored such a noble and valiant beauty. Ning Xiyuan stepped into the study and bowed to Qi Tianlong. "Uncle, I was just passing by. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. Please forgive me." Qi Tianlong's anger dissipated. He quickly said, "Miss Xiyuan, you're too polite. You're the daughter-in-law of the Qi family. It's only right that you participate in this matter. This is a serious matter. I'd like to hear your opinion." He was in a difficult position. Since Ning Xiyuan wanted to help him, he was grateful. Now, he liked this daughter-in-law more and more. Qi Huanji glanced at Ning Xiyuan and asked unhappily, "Miss Ning, what are you trying to do?" Ning Xiyuan said expressionlessly, "Young Master Qi, if you want to invite a consecrator, this is your Qi family's matter. Naturally, I won't interfere." However, young Master Tianqing's words were shocking, and he looked down on all the talents in the world. "As luck would have it, I'm a half-step divine lord, so I want to experience Sir Tianqing's strength." Qi Huanji's expression changed, and a look of worry appeared in his eyes. Of course he knew that this ice beauty Ning Xiyuan was terrifyingly strong. At least, he was stronger than Yuan Jie. Qi Huanji was a little hesitant, but Qi Tianlong was full of joy. He hurriedly echoed, yes. Miss Siyuan was one of the top 5 geniuses in Tianxue County. If this young master Tianqing can't even beat young Miss Siyuan, what right does he have to be arrogant? Ning Siyuan nodded slightly and looked straight at Ji Tianqing. She said in a low voice, young master Tianqing, please enlighten me. Qi Huanji hurriedly stood up and was about to stop him. Ji Tianqing waved his hand, indicating that he did not need to worry. Since Miss Ning wants to test my strength, I'll naturally accompany you. My bold words can only be verified by the failure of some geniuses. As he spoke, Ji Tianqing stood up and walked out of the study. Young Master Qi, is there a suitable place for the martial arts competition? I'm afraid that the entire Qi family will be destroyed when the fight starts. Qi Tianlong hurriedly said, let's go to the martial arts arena. I've set up a monarch-grade divine formation there. You can fight without worry. Thus, the 4 of them hurried to the martial arts arena. Under Qi Tianlong's instructions, the news quickly spread in the Qi family. Hundreds of Qi family disciples and Ning Siyuan's guards all rushed to the martial arts arena to watch the fight. The martial arts arena of the Qi family occupied an area of 10,000 feet and could accommodate thousands of people. There was also an arena that looked like a pale blue ball of light. It was only 100 feet wide. In reality, the arena was protected by 3 monarch-grade divine formations and the space inside was 1,000 miles wide. Immortals below the Divine Lord realm could fight without worry as the aftermath would not spread out. 15 minutes later. More than 100 people gathered around the arena. They were all experts of the Qi family and Ning Siyuan's guards. When the crowd heard the cause of the incident, they carefully sized up Ji Tianqing and commented on him. They took pleasure in his misfortune. This kid looks ordinary. What qualifications does he have to be our Qi family's consecrator? He must be a swindler. After all, he was hired by the eldest young master. He dares to boast that he is invincible below the Divine Lord realm. Isn't he afraid that the wind will cut his tongue? Ha ha ha. He was just bragging and in the blink of an eye, he was slapped in the face by Miss Siyuan. How laughable. Miss Siyuan is the 5th genius of Tianxue County. She is a true genius. I bet that kid will lose within 3 moves at most. Tisk. You are underestimating Miss Siyuan. 2 moves at most. 1 move. Miss Siyuan only needs 1 move to defeat that kid. The crowd was discussing excitedly. Moreover, their voices were very loud. They did not mind that Ji Tianqing was present and mocked him. Ji Tianqing turned a deaf ear to them and remained calm. Qi Huanji, on the other hand, was furious. His face darkened and he secretly made a note of those who mocked him. Humph. After this matter is over, this young master will settle the score with you. Ning Siyuan glanced at Ji Tianqing and thought to himself, this person's temperament is as calm as water. Qi Tianlong was also observing him. He secretly sneered, kid, it's useless to pretend to be calm. Your true colors will be revealed soon. At this moment, Ji Tianqing stepped onto the arena and turned around to beckon Ning Siyuan with his finger. This frivolous gesture made Ning Siyuan frown and his eyes turn cold. The Qi's and Ning family guards' faces changed and they cursed Ji Tianqing furiously. Qi Huanji was not angry. Instead, he was secretly pleased. Ning Siyuan, oh Ning Siyuan, you are always so arrogant and disdainful of me. Later, Brother Tianqing will teach you a lesson and make you beg for mercy. It will be very exciting, right? When he thought of this, Qi Huanji's face changed and he muttered to himself, someone is humiliating my fiancé. Why am I not angry? Instead, I am happy. This is not right. Forget it. I don't care if it is right or not. As long as I feel good, that's all that matters. At the same time, Ning Siyuan stepped onto the arena. The two of them were standing 100 miles away from each other in the battling space that was 1,000 miles in radius. After they saluted each other, the battle began. Ning Siyuan was the first to attack. He turned into a silver stream of light and shot out dozens of fist radiances toward Ji Tianqing. The mountain-like silver fist radiances were like meteors falling from the sky. They were extremely powerful. Ji Tianqing stood on the spot and did not dodge. He only raised his fists slowly when the meteors fell in front of him. He activated the power of 14 laws and compressed his divine power to the extreme. He used all his strength to create two illusory images of dragons and elephants to fight against Ning Siyuan. Dragon Elephant Divine Fist. Chapter 2792. Boom! There was a deafening sound. The mountain-sized dragon elephant phantom carried the power of 14 laws and hit the dozens of starry fist radiance head-on. The dragon elephant phantom was solid like a real primordial divine elephant and 9 true dragons. Its aura was extremely violent and domineering. There were more than a dozen different colored divine lights, representing different nomological powers. Space, earth, blood, 5 elements, stars, and so on. The power of this punch had reached the limit of the heaven god realm and exceeded everyone's imagination. Ning Siyuan was not the only one who was shocked by the unparalleled pressure. Even outside the ring, more than 100 spectators were stunned. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Boom! Crack! In the next moment, the dragon elephant phantom swept across the entire arena and burst forth with destructive power. Ning Siyuan's dozens of starry fist radiance were instantly shattered. The power of the dragon elephant divine fist did not weaken much and hit her again. Bam! Amidst the muffled sound, Ning Siyuan's body shook and he was sent flying. She was still in midair, but her face had already turned pale and blood spurted out from her nose and mouth. Although she was wearing the monarch-grade divine armor and had unparalleled defensive power. The power of the dragon elephant divine fist actually made a dent in the divine armor. The terrifying power penetrated the divine armor's barrier and caused Ning Siyuan to suffer internal injuries. Originally, Ning Siyuan was wearing the monarch-grade divine armor to fight with Ji Tianqing. She was considered to have cheated and gained a huge advantage. But no one expected the result. Ji Tianqing only used one move to beat her until she vomited blood and flew out 100 miles in a sorry state. This was simply too unbelievable. Swoosh! Ning Siyuan flew out 100 miles and barely managed to reduce the impact. She stopped in midair. She was stunned on the spot and did not counterattack. Of course, Ji Tianqing also retracted his fists and stood on the spot calmly. He looked at Ning Siyuan calmly and asked, "Miss Ning, do you want to continue fighting?" Ning Siyuan stared at him with a complicated expression. All 3 of his eyes were filled with shock. "How did you do it?" She could not believe that Ji Tianqing had actually condensed 14 types of law powers. On the other hand, she had only condensed 10 laws and was hailed as one of the top 5 geniuses in Sky Snow County City. In her impression, only Divine Lord Realm powerhouses could condense so many laws. Ji Tianqing said in an indifferent tone, "It's not difficult for those who don't know, but it's not difficult for those who do." This was a useless sentence. It was as good as not saying anything. However, these words were a heavy blow to Ning Siyuan. Ning Siyuan's expression became more and more complicated. He secretly gritted his teeth and nodded. "You're very good." "I lost." After saying that, she turned around and flew out of the ring, leaving the martial arts arena without looking back. This was just an exchange of pointers, not a life-and-death duel, so it was fine to stop at a certain point. Moreover, Ning Siyuan already had an answer. She was no match for Ji Tianqing. Even if she forcefully carried on fighting, it was also seeking humiliation. Only at this time did the spectators outside the ring come back to their senses. Everyone did not hear Ji Tianqing and Ning Siyuan's conversation and were also not clear on what was going on. But Ning Siyuan leaving injured proved that she lost. In a split second, the entire martial arts arena seethed with excitement. The 100 over spectators were all like they had seen a ghost, inexplicably alarmed as they discussed animatedly. My God! What happened just now? They only exchanged one move and it's over. Just who won? Miss Siyuan wouldn't have lost, right? Although this result is very shocking, Miss Siyuan is injured. It's indeed her loss. Impossible. The person who was one shot should be that kid. Why is it this result? Are we all seeing things wrongly? Miss Siyuan is Skysnow County City's top 5 genius. How can she possibly be defeated by someone in one move? That kid wouldn't be a divine lord, right? Otherwise, how can he possibly defeat Miss Siyuan? Right. That kid must have concealed his true strength. He must be a divine lord. Many Qi family disciples and Ning family guards could not accept this result. Everyone exclaimed and discussed animatedly. Qi Tianlong's expression was very complicated. He was both shocked and delighted. He did not expect the result to be so unbelievable. That arrogant guy had actually defeated Ning Siyuan. And he had only used one move. After all, he was a divine lord expert and could see more clearly than others. He had to admit that the power of Ji Tianqing's punch was indeed several times stronger than Ning Siyuan's. Even he might not be able to deliver such a powerful punch. After calming down, he was filled with joy. This guy is so strong. He actually defeated Miss Siyuan in one move. Even if he were to fight Mu Yi and Yuan Jie, he would definitely win. Although he's arrogant, he didn't lie to me. He's really invincible below the Divine Lord level. Our Qi family has found a treasure this time. Thinking of this, Qi Tianlong could not help but turn to look at Qi Huanji. At this time, Qi Huanji had finally recovered from the shock. His face was flushed with excitement as he waved his fist and cheered. When he met Qi Tianlong's gaze, he raised his head proudly and said provocatively, "Father, how is it? Are you convinced now?" Qi Tianlong's face darkened as he glared at him. The person who defeated Miss Ning was young Master Tianqing, not you. What are you so proud of? If you had been a little more ambitious, our Qi family would not have fallen to such a state. Yes, yes, yes. You're right. Qi Huanji was in a good mood and did not care about his father's reprimand. He quickly asked, "Father, you have no objections now, right?" "Yes." Qi Tianlong nodded and said with relief, "You've done so many ridiculous things, but you're finally smart for once. I promise you that young Master Tianqing will be our Qi family's honorary elder." Qi Huanji smiled triumphantly. At this time, Ji Tianqing left the arena and came to his side. Therefore, he said to Qi Tianlong, "Father, let's go to the study now and settle this matter. Tomorrow is the martial arts competition, we have to prepare." Qi Tianlong waved his hand and said, "You little brat, how can you be so heartless? Miss Ning is injured. As her fiancée, you should go and visit her now. I'll talk to young Master Tianqing about the honorary elder." After that, Qi Tianlong was about to send him away. How could Qi Huanji agree? "Father, Miss Ning is proud and arrogant. Now that she is injured and defeated, she must be in a bad mood. If I go and visit her now, she will definitely misunderstand that I'm going to mock her. Let's ignore her and talk about business first." Qi Tianlong was helpless. He could only bring him and Ji Tianqing to the study to discuss the matter. After the three of them left, more than 100 spectators gradually left the arena. However, the crowd gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and were still discussing the battle. The name, Young Master Tianqing, was firmly etched in everyone's mind. Chapter 2793. In the Patriarch's study, Qi Tianlong was sitting at the head of the table. On the jade table in front of him was a contract and the patriarch's seal. Inviting a consecrator was a very formal and grand affair. Not only did both parties have to discuss the benefits, but they also had to sign a contract. Qi Tianlong looked at Ji Tianqing and said seriously, "Young Master Tianqing, I didn't see you fight before, so I misunderstood you. Please forgive me. Tomorrow is the martial arts competition, so let's settle this today and not go through so many formalities." Ji Tianqing sat on the big chair and drank tea. He nodded calmly. Qi Huanji stood at the side, looking like a little follower. He admired Ji Tianqing a lot. Qi Tianlong frowned, but he did not say anything. Ahem, he cleared his throat and said seriously, "Young Master Tianqing, the Qi family has not invited a consecrator for the past 100 years. So, we will pay you according to the standards of other families. From now on, the Qi family will give you 30 million divine stones or resources of the same value every year. In addition, if you make any contributions to the Qi family, there will be other rewards. What you need to do is to stay in the Qi family, follow the Qi family's decisions and arrangements, and protect and help the Qi family to grow stronger. We must work together." Before Qi Tianlong could finish his sentence, Qi Huanji interrupted him with a frown. "Father! 30 million divine stones a year. Aren't you too stingy? The consecrator invited by the city lord's mansion gets 50 million divine stones a year. We are the richest family in Green Mountain City, so we have to give him 60 million. Before Ji Tianqing could even talk about the price, Qi Huanji took the initiative to raise the price. Qi Tianlong was so angry that his liver hurt. He glared at his son and scolded, "Unfilial son, whose side are you on?" Qi Huanji shrunk his neck and whispered, "If young Master Tianqing is the Qi family's consecrator, we will be a family. How much benefits do you have to offer them in order to get them to help us?" Although his voice was not loud, Qi Tianlong and Ji Tianqing were both strong, so they naturally heard him clearly. Ji Tianqing couldn't help but smile. Qi Tianlong was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He glared fiercely at Qi Huanji and shouted coldly, "Then 50 million a year. Are you satisfied?" "That's more like it," Qi Huanji muttered again. Qi Tianlong was so angry that his hands trembled. He grabbed the patriarch's seal and wanted to smash it on Qi Huanji's face. Qi Huanji did not sense the danger and hurriedly urged, "Father, quickly stamp the seal and this matter will be done." Qi Tianlong's face turned even darker. He took a deep breath and said in his heart, "I'll endure it. After all, she's his biological daughter." Moments later, Qi Tianlong and Ji Tianqing signed the contract under the witness of Qi Huanji. 2 contracts, one for each person. Qi Tianlong saluted Ji Tianqing and said with a smile, "Young Master Tianqing, we're a family from now on. I hope you'll put in more effort to help the Qi family to a higher level." Ji Tianqing also saluted back and said, "It's my duty. I'll do my best." Qi Tianlong nodded with satisfaction and ordered, "Huanji, empty the west courtyard. That will be the residence of High Official Tianqing in the future. Also, send 2 younger and prettier maids to keep an eye on High Official Tianqing's daily life." Qi Huanji frowned and said, "Father, the west courtyard has been empty for more than 10 years and has been used as a warehouse. How can we let young Master Tianqing live there? Since my eccentric courtyard is being rebuilt, I'll ask the craftsmen to put in more effort to build a more luxurious high official courtyard for young Master Tianqing to live in. As for the maids, young Master Tianqing has never been close to women. He doesn't even touch the fox god maids in Xingyue Pavilion. There's no need to arrange for them." Qi Tianlong's 2 decisions were overturned by his son on the spot. Moreover, Qi Huanji overstepped his authority and arranged a residence for Ji Tianqing. Qi Tianlong was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he had to maintain his composure. He smiled and said, "All right, then we'll do as you say." Qi Huanji nodded happily and said, "Father, then you go ahead with your work. I'll show Tianqing around." "Go, go." Qi Tianlong waved his hand impatiently and hurriedly sent Qi Huanji away. Qi Tianlong couldn't help but want to beat him up if he looked at him or listened to him speak. Then, Qi Huanji led Ji Tianqing out of the study and strolled around the Qi residence. Qi Tianlong also called the housekeeper and guards to spread the news of the high official so that everyone in the residence knew. Although the Qi residence was very big, with more than 4,000 people, the news spread quickly. However, the news spread very quickly. In less than 2 hours, almost everyone knew that the Qi clan had invited a young consecrator. Not long after, another piece of news spread in the residence. The young consecrator had a round of sparring with Ning Siyuan. The two of them had only exchanged one move in the arena, and Ning Siyuan had been defeated. This news was like a heavy bomb that was dropped into a lake, causing a huge uproar. When many people heard the news, their first reaction was disbelief and absurdity. However, more than 100 people had seen the fight with their own eyes, proving that the news was true. The thousands of people in the Qi residence were shocked, and they were full of anticipation and curiosity toward the young high official. The Qi residence's disciples, servants, and guards were all discussing this matter. Ning Siyuan didn't show up for the entire day. Everyone knew without asking that she must be in seclusion to heal her injuries. Moreover, she had been injured in a single move in front of everyone, and it was embarrassing. Qi Huanji brought Ji Tianqing around the Qi residence, then led him to the east courtyard. The east courtyard was where he and a few of the Qi residence's direct descendants lived. Next to it was Tingfeng Garden. It was an elegant and luxuriously decorated courtyard used to entertain distinguished guests. Ning Siyuan and her guards lived in Tingfeng Garden. The two residences were 100 steps apart, and Qi Huanji had no intention of visiting. He was indeed heartless. When night fell, the Qi residence hosted a sumptuous banquet. This was a family banquet held in the main hall. Only the Qi residence's direct descendants, a few attendants, and Qi Tianlong's family were qualified to attend. The purpose of the family banquet was to welcome Ji Tianqing. At the same time, it was to let the Qi residence's direct descendants see Ji Tianqing with their own eyes. Qin Peipei personally went to invite Ning Siyuan. As expected, Ning Siyuan declined the invitation with the excuse of recuperating. At the family banquet, Qi Tianlong and his wife performed the duties of a host without losing their manners. The Qi residence's direct descendants reacted calmly, silently observing Ji Tianqing. No one applauded, and no one was foolish enough to criticize him. Only Qi Huanji was the happiest, and he was very active. Ji Tianqing's expression remained calm, neither servile nor overbearing. No matter how sumptuous the wine and delicacies were, he would stop after tasting them. After the family banquet, the Qi residents still didn't know him well enough. They felt that his identity was mysterious and his strength was unfathomable. The family banquet ended in the middle of the night. Slightly tipsy, Qi Huanji accompanied Ji Tianqing back to the east courtyard to rest. However, as soon as they stepped into the east courtyard, they saw a graceful figure standing outside Ji Tianqing's room. Chapter 2794. Under the dim yellow light. A slim figure stood under the eaves outside the door, casting a long shadow. It was a woman in a long silver dress. She had a voluptuous figure and exquisite curves. She stood quietly outside the door, patiently waiting for something. When Qi Huanji saw her face, he immediately sobered up. Miss Ning. Why are you here?" There was no doubt that the woman in the silver dress was Ning Siyuan. Her armor had been destroyed by Ji Tianqing, so she looked even more noble and elegant in her long dress. When she heard Qi Huanji's voice, she turned around and replied nonchalantly, "I'm waiting for someone." Although she was answering Qi Huanji, her eyes were fixed on Ji Tianqing. "Ah. Qi Huanji was stunned. He looked at Ji Tianqing with a strange expression. Then, he cupped his hands at Ning Xiyuan and said, "You two continue chatting. I'll take my leave first." Ning Xiyuan had no intention of stopping him. Ji Tianqing frowned and shouted at Qi Huanji, "Young Master Qi, come back." "No, no, you two continue chatting." Qi Huanji quickly waved his hand and sped away. Ji Tianqing was speechless. This kid is so careless. Your fiancée came to my room late at night to wait for me, but you weren't there to keep an eye on her. Instead, you ran away even faster. What was he thinking? Ji Tianqing sighed silently. He walked up to Ning Xiyuan and stood 10 steps away from her. He asked, "Miss Ning, you're young Master Qi's fiancée, and we're in the Qi residence. You should avoid arousing suspicion. It's already late at night. Let's talk tomorrow." Ning Xiyuan looked at him calmly and said coldly, "If I have a clear conscience, why do I have to avoid arousing suspicion? I've been thinking about it all day, but I still can't figure it out. I can't wait until tomorrow. I want to know the answer now." Ji Tianqing understood what she was talking about. He frowned and said, "Is this how you ask for advice?" Ning Xiyuan stared blankly for a moment and gave him a deep look. Then, she bowed to Ji Tianqing and sincerely said, "My name is Ning Xiyuan. I would like to ask Sir Tianqing to enlighten me and teach me how to superimpose the laws." It was very clear that she was very focused on the cultivation of the divine path, and could even be said to be obsessed. After being defeated by Ji Tianqing, she had been wondering how Ji Tianqing had done it. He was actually able to superimpose 14 types of law energies into a single punch and instantly defeat her. The Ning family had several divine lord powerhouses. They were powerful and knowledgeable. However, the few divine lords could only superimpose 4 to 5 nomological powers at a time. That kind of secret technique that superimposed the laws was very ordinary and not very profound. However, Ning Xiyuan could see that Ji Tianqing's secret technique was definitely a top-notch divine ability. Therefore, she disregarded her injuries and also did not avoid arousing suspicion, coming to find Ji Tianqing in the middle of the night. Ji Tianqing said with an indifferent expression, "The art of layering laws, let alone you, even divine lord powerhouses yearn for it in their dreams. Miss Ning, you and I have never met before. Why should I teach you?" Regarding his reaction, Ning Xiyuan was not surprised in the slightest. She did not say a word, took out a token from her interspatial ring, and handed it in front of Ji Tianqing. "This is my Ning family's elder token. I'm giving it to Sir Tianqing as a meeting gift. Apart from this, whatever condition you have, as long as it doesn't exceed the Ning family's ability and doesn't go against morality, I can agree to it." Ji Tianqing raised his brows and said with a light smile, "If I want 5 billion divine stones, plus 10 monarch-rank divine artifacts, can you give it too?" Ning Xiyuan was stunned for a moment and shook her head lightly and said, "I know. The secret technique that Sir Tianqing grasps should be worth this price. But, this price is seriously too great. I can't make the decision on my own and still have to consult father and the few elders." Ji Tianqing waved his hand and transmitted his voice, "Divine stones and divine artifacts are all worldly possessions. I don't care about it. But there's one thing, if you can achieve it, I'll impart to you the secret technique." Ning Xiyuan's 2 eyes immediately lit up, revealing a thick look of anticipation. "Please speak." Ji Tianqing said with a ruminating smile, "Let me ask you first, how many continents are there in the divine world?" That was right, he wanted to understand the situation of the other 3 continents and 9 great sea regions through the Ning family's forces. Figuring out this matter was more important than 5 billion divine stones. It was just too bad that Ning Xiyuan frowned and thought for a while, then answered with a question, "Could it be that there are other continents apart from the vast heaven continent?" A hint of disappointment flashed across Ji Tianqing's eyes, and he secretly thought in his heart, "Indeed so. Based on the Ning family's forces, we also don't have the qualifications to understand the continents outside of vast heaven. He was a little dispirited, and he waved his hand and said, "Forget it, you can go." After saying that, he walked toward the door and brushed past Ning Siyuan. How smart was Ning Siyuan? She immediately understood that she could not do what Ji Tianqing wanted to say. Suddenly, her mood fell, and the light in her eyes dimmed. She cupped her hands at Ji Tianqing and said, "Young Master Tianqing, I was rude, please forgive me. But I'll definitely think of a way to fulfill your request. Sorry for the intrusion, goodbye." After saying that, she turned and left without hesitation. After she returned to Tingfeng Garden, a figure walked out from under the big tree in the corner of the courtyard. It was Qi Huanji. He looked at Ji Tianqing's door, then glanced at Tingfeng Garden not far away, and scratched his head in confusion. He was worried that Ning Siyuan would hold a grudge and cause trouble for Ji Tianqing, so he hid at the side and spied on her. But he did not expect that not only was Ning Siyuan not angry, but she was also respectful to Ji Tianqing. The two of them were conversing with each other through divine sense, so he could not hear the content. That was why he was full of doubts. That's strange. Ning Siyuan is such a proud person, but after being injured by young Master Tianqing, she lost face in front of everyone. Based on her personality, she would definitely cause trouble for young Master Tianqing. Or she would leave the Qi mansion in a fit of anger and rush back to Tianxue County City overnight. But not only did she not leave, she did not hold a grudge, and she was even polite to young Master Tianqing. Young Master Tianheng didn't do anything. How did he make Ning Siyuan lower her head? This young Master Tianqing is really mysterious and resourceful. The more Qi Huanji thought about it, the more he admired Ji Tianqing. He quietly returned to his room and prepared to meditate and cultivate. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Oh my God! Could it be that Ning Siyuan was subdued by young Master Tianqing and admired him? Qi Huanji's heart was filled with bitterness and mixed feelings. Tonight, he would not be able to cultivate in peace. On the other side, Ji Tianqing entered the secret chamber and opened the interspatial ring. This dark red interspatial ring was given to him by Qi Tianlong. Inside was half a year's salary paid in advance, which was worth 25 million divine stones. There were 15 million divine stones and 10 million divine stones worth of resources, which were all divine elixirs, medicinal herbs, and talismans. There were more than 80 divine elixirs in total, and only 2 of them were monarch-grade divine elixirs. The rest were heaven-grade divine elixirs. Ji Tianqing took out the 2 monarch-grade divine elixirs, held them in his palm, and used the devouring divine power to cultivate. Although these 2 monarch-grade divine elixirs were used for healing and could not directly increase one's strength. However, Ji Tianqing used the heaven-mending pearl to devour the power of the 2 divine elixirs and absorb their essence to quickly increase his strength. Chapter 2795. When Ji Tianqing entered Green Mountain City, he only had over 20,000 divine stones on him. That was a small fortune that he snatched after killing Lin Wuji. He had tried before using the heaven-mending pearl to devour those divine stones. In the end, he quickly devoured 20,000 divine stones, but the increase in strength was limited. In comparison, it was far from the effect of devouring divine mandates. Therefore, Ji Tianqing was not in a hurry to devour the 15 million divine stones he obtained either. Devouring 2 monarch-ranked divine pills first, the effect would definitely be stronger. If it were an ordinary person, refining 2 monarch-ranked divine pills would take at least 3 to 5 months. But Ji Tianqing only cultivated for a night and refined the 2 divine pills. Half of the power went to the heaven-mending pearl, and the other half went to him. The result made him very gratified. He successfully broke through to the 7th level celestial deity realm. Fortunately, it was just breaking through a small realm and did not cause any heaven and earth phenomenon. There was also not too much commotion. Apart from himself, no one knew that he broke through at dawn. After reaching the 7th level celestial deity realm, his strength increased more than 3 times, and his foundation became even more profound. The next morning. The morning sun had just risen when Qi Huangji, who did not sleep the entire night, came to knock on Ji Tianqing's door. Ji Tianqing ended his cultivation and left the hidden chamber. The two people sat down in the living room. Ji Tianqing asked casually, "Young Master Qi, after today's matter is done, I need a few household registration tokens to settle down my family. Is there a problem?" A small matter." Qi Huangji nodded absent-mindedly. His expression was somewhat complicated, his eyes dodging, not daring to look straight at Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing saw his abnormality and said with a light smile, "What? Not confident in today's martial competition and a little nervous?" Qi Huangji hurriedly waved his hand and said, "That's not it. With you participating, I'm 100% at ease." Ji Tianqing said with a teasing smile, "Then you're troubled. It must be because of Miss Ning, right?" Last night, when he was talking with Ning Xiyuan, Qi Huangji hid in the dark and spied on them. He was well aware. Qi Huangji felt a little awkward when his thoughts were exposed. He hesitated for a moment before he mustered up the courage to ask, "Young Master Tianqing, to tell you the truth, I treat you as a brother. There's something that I've thought about and decided to ask you." Without waiting for him to finish, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said indifferently, "Don't worry. I'm not interested in Ning Xiyuan." Qi Huangji was stunned at first, but then he looked relieved. He secretly let out a sigh of relief and patted Ji Tianqing's shoulder. He laughed happily and said, "Brother Tianqing knows me best." Ji Tianqing glanced at him and asked, "Since you care about her, why are you avoiding her?" Qi Huangji shook his head and sighed, "Brother, how can a genius like you understand the pain of trash like us? Ning Xiyuan had a noble status, was so beautiful, and was so talented and powerful. As long as it was a male, it was impossible for him not to like her. But I'm not good enough for her. I feel ashamed when I see her." His words came to an abrupt end. Qi Huangji's body stiffened. He stared at the door with an extremely interesting expression. Ji Tianqing turned his head and saw Ning Xiyuan standing at the door in her golden armor, staring coldly at Qi Huangji. Although Ning Xiyuan didn't say anything, her face was as cold as frost and her eyes were as sharp as swords. Her iceberg aura was too strong. Qi Huangji was so embarrassed that he wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. However, Ji Tianqing acted as if nothing had happened. With a calm expression, he asked, "Miss Ning, are you going to watch the martial arts competition later?" Ning Xiyuan withdrew her sharp eyes and nodded, "Yes, I want to see how young Master Tianqing will defeat Yuan Jia and Mu Yi." Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "The result of the martial arts competition will not disappoint you. But that matter will definitely disappoint you." Ning Xiyuan nodded calmly and said, "Young Master Tianqing's secret technique is unfathomable. Even if I watch 10 times, I may not be able to comprehend anything. But I won't give up even if there's a tiny bit of hope." The two of them chatted as if there was no one else around and ignored Qi Huangji. Qi Huangji wasn't angry. Instead, he was very grateful to Ji Tianqing and got up to leave as if he was escaping. "Well, you guys talk first. I'll go get ready and send someone to call you later." After saying that, he dashed out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The living room quieted down. Ning Xiyuan looked at Qi Huangji, who fled in panic, and sighed silently in her heart. If this unambitious guy could learn a little bit from young Master Tianqing, he wouldn't have such a bad reputation. Unknowingly, a quarter of an hour passed. 2 guards hurried over to inform Ji Tianqing and Ning Xiyuan. The two of them left the east courtyard together. 4 carriages were parked at the gate of the Qi family's mansion. The carriages were all made of divine gold and inlaid with many divine jades. They were very luxurious. The divine beasts pulling the carriages were 12 snow-white unicorns, very noble and elegant. Each of the unicorns was a rare divine beast that was worth tens of millions of divine stones. In the entire Qingshan city, the Qi family was the only family that could afford to be so extravagant. After all, the Qi family was in the pet business. After everyone had arrived, they got into the carriages and went to the plaza in the city center. Qi Tianlong and the 3 deacons of the Qi family were in the first carriage. Qi Tianqing and Qi Huanji were in the second carriage. Ning Xiyuan and her maids were in the third carriage. As for the fourth carriage, several young disciples of the Qi family were in it. They were the best of their generation. A tall arena had been built in the plaza in the city center. The arena was more than 1,000 feet high and was protected by 4 layers of monarch-level formations. On the surface, it looked like a white ball of light with a radius of 10,000 feet. But as a matter of fact, the space inside the ball of light was vast, with a radius of 100 miles. By the time the Qi family's fleet arrived at the plaza, the arena was already crowded with people. At least 200,000 people of the God family had arrived at the plaza in advance and occupied the best places to watch the fight. Of course, there were more than 3 million people of the God family in the Qingshan city. At the moment, more than 100,000 people of the God family were coming from all directions and gathering at the plaza. The martial arts competition was a grand event that was held once every 10 years in the Qingshan city. The 5 major families and the mayor's office could decide the ownership of the Cave of Mystic Light through the martial arts competition. They could also take the opportunity to train their disciples and show their strength to the people of the city. When the 12 unicorns pulled the 4 splendid carriages and flew to the plaza, many people were excited. Countless people cheered loudly as they looked at the Qi family's convoy with burning eyes. They were extremely envious. There were 4 other teams above the plaza. They were the 4 major families that had arrived in advance. Those of the Qi family were standing on a divine warship that was 10,000 feet long. Those of the Feng family were sitting on a huge jade carriage. Those of the other 2 major families were either riding on divine beasts or flying artifacts. All in all, the general public could only watch from the plaza. Only those of the 5 major families and the mayor's office could watch from the sky. Chapter 2796. The square was a hubbub of voices. Looking down from the sky, the ground was crowded with people, shoulder to shoulder. Countless people whispered to each other, sizing up the 5 great families with faces full of awe. The Qi family's 4 carriages stopped in the sky, quietly floating. Qi Tianlong and a few Qi family deacons walked out of the carriages one by one, standing still in the sky. Not far away, the people of the 4 great families cupped their hands to Qi Tianlong. Greetings, Patriarch Qi. Patriarch Qi, why are you here personally today? Every time in the martial arts competition, our 5 families are just side characters. The patriarchs will not come personally. Why is Patriarch Qi in the mood to watch the competition today? Patriarch Qi has gathered so many people. Could it be that your son has broken through and has hope of winning? The people of the 4 great families were all elders, deacons, and direct descendants. The 4 patriarchs were not present. It had been like this for decades. Qi Tianlong was not embarrassed either. He returned the greetings to the people of the great families one by one and greeted them. This seat is late. I've made everyone wait for a long time. In the previous few martial arts competitions, this seat has been busy with business and had no time to watch. Today, I have nothing to do, so I came over to take a look. He said it casually, but there was some confidence in his eyes and tone. The people of the other families noticed a trace of abnormality and immediately became alert. A youth in a brocade robe from the Feng family asked with a smile, "Uncle Qi, this nephew heard that your residence recruited a consecrator yesterday?" Qi Tianlong nodded and said, "There is indeed such a thing." Yesterday, he gave the order to announce this news in the Qi residence and even held a banquet. His purpose was not just to let the Qi family know. The people of the other 4 great families and the city lord's residence would definitely also know the news. This way, it was considered informing in advance and did not violate the rules. In the crowd of the Qi family, a burly red-haired youth said with a playful smile, "Uncle Qi, this nephew heard that the consecrator is very young. Was it Brother Huanji who insisted on recruiting him?" An elder of the Yuqi family stroked his beard and said with a smile, "I heard that the young man has not reached the Divine Lord realm yet and can also be a consecrator for the richest Qi family." The last to speak was the second elder of the Lu family. He said with a smile, "Does everyone still not understand?" The Qi family's patriarch had invited an expert to represent the Qi family in this competition. Otherwise, how can a celestial deity realm brat have the qualifications to be a retainer? The aristocratic families appeared to be harmonious on the surface, but in reality, they were all in Green Mountain City, and there was no lack of scheming against each other. The 4 families understood Qi Tianlong's intention and questioned him in front of everyone. Qi Tianlong had long been mentally prepared. His expression remained unchanged. He smiled and waved his hand. "Everyone, please don't make fun of me. It's my son's fault for being too immature. My son and young Master Tianqing hit it off at first sight and even wanted to become sworn brothers, insisting on keeping young Master Tianqing in the Qi clan. I had no choice. I couldn't persuade that unfilial son, so I could only use this method." The people from the 4 great clans were all cunning old foxes. How could they not understand that he was evading the responsibility? But everyone knew that Qi Huanji's actions were preposterous. It was the Qi clan's business to hire a consecrator. No one could interfere, so they let it go. The Lu clan's second elder raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Everyone, before the martial arts competition begins, this old man would like to introduce a junior to all of you. His name is Mu Yi, and he's the nephew of our patriarch. He's been learning martial arts in the Blood Sword sect. Recently, he left the mountain and returned to the Lu clan to reunite with his family. As a member of the Lu clan, he naturally has to do his best for this martial arts competition." As his voice fell, a cold-looking young man in red robes walked out from the Lu clan's crowd. He held a sword in his arms. It was Mu Yi. Qi Tianlong's expression changed slightly when he saw this person, and his eyes narrowed. The people from the other 3 aristocratic families all looked at Mu Yi with vigilant gazes. Mu Yi glanced at Qi Tianlong expressionlessly, then turned to look at the Qi clan's carriage, as if looking for Qi Huanji. But Qi Huanji and Ji Tianqing sat in the carriage and didn't show themselves. Mu Yi could only withdraw his gaze and return to the crowd. From beginning to end, his expression was cold and indifferent, and he didn't even bother to look at the people from the other aristocratic families. Seeing the fear on everyone's faces, the Lu clan's second elder smiled proudly and looked at Qi Tianlong playfully. Qi Tianlong glanced at him and didn't say anything, but he sneered inwardly. The Lu clan is really ruthless. In order to obtain the profound light cave, they actually compromised with the Blood Sword sect. He despised the Lu clan's behavior, but he was worried. Because he knew that Mu Yi was very strong, very strong. In the Qi clan's second carriage, Qi Huanji pointed at the people from the 4 aristocratic families and introduced them to Ji Tianqing. Over there are people from the Feng clan. Their main business is divine weapons. That guy in luxurious clothes who looks frivolous is the young master of the Feng clan, Feng Qinlang. In Qingshan City, he's the infamous playboy, a slut. In the martial arts competition later, each clan can send 2 people to participate, and Feng Qinlang will definitely go on stage. However, his strength is average, and I've already defeated him 3 times. According to the rules, the other person is his younger cousin, and his strength is slightly stronger than his. Young Master Tianqing, to the east are people from the Qi clan. That red-haired kid is called Qi Jin, the young master of the Qi clan. He has a bad temper and doesn't get along with me normally, and often finds trouble with me. Although he's the same as me, a 9th-level celestial god, I can't beat him. The group of people in the southeast are from the Yuchi clan. They're mainly proficient in formations and saber arts. Pay attention to that skinny, dark-robed kid. That's Wuxia Chronicles, the second young master of the Yuchi clan. That guy is a martial arts fanatic. He's not interested in power or wealth, and is wholeheartedly focused on cultivating the divine Tao. I heard that his saber arts have improved recently, and he's mastered a saber array. If you go up against him, you have to be careful. To the south are people from the Lu clan. They're the most sinister. The Lu clan is really despicable. They actually negotiated with the Blood Sword sect to have Mu Yi pretend to be the nephew of the Lu clan's patriarch. Look at Mu Ye's arrogant face. It's simply disgusting. Young Master Tianqing, if you go up against him, you must beat him up until he's looking for his teeth on the ground. When talking about the Lu clan and Mu Yi, Qi Huangji's emotions were agitated and filled with hatred. Qi Tianqing glanced at him and asked, "When Mu Yi went to the Qi clan, did he humiliate you in front of your face?" Qi Huangji didn't say anything, which could be considered a tacit admission. Qi Tianqing patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'll help you vent your anger." "Okay." Qi Huangji hurriedly nodded, revealing an expectant smile. At this moment, a luxurious carriage drove over from the northern sky. The crowd in the plaza immediately cheered. Countless God clan members were shouting the name Yuan Jie, their expressions rather excited and fanatical. Without a doubt, the people from the city lord's mansion had arrived. Chapter 2797. The city lord mansion's extravagance was very large, surpassing the 5 great families. Not only were there over 100 guards present, there were also 2 divine lord powerhouses holding the line. One was the deputy city lord, the other was the city lord mansion's consecrator. The city lord did not come. The most honorable person in the team was actually not the deputy city lord. It was the young city lord in a golden robe with a jade crown on his head, the handsome and divine Yuan Jie. This person was nearly 10 feet tall, with a valiant figure and a jade-like face. His entire body exuded an elegant and luxurious aura. He had just stepped down from the carriage and appeared in front of everyone when the square burst into cheers and screams. Among them, the vast majority were young women. They looked at Yuan Jie with eyes full of admiration and admiration, very passionate. Yuan Jie was not arrogant, overlooking the square with a smile on his face, waving at the hundreds of thousands of people. After all, he was the young city lord. If there were no accidents, the next city lord position would be his. In front of the common people, of course he had to appear elegant. But the young disciples of the 5 great families all had indifferent faces, secretly sneering in their hearts. Qi Huangji, who was sitting in the carriage, said with a face full of disdain, "Pretentious guy, really hypocritical to the extreme." However, those commoners were fooled by him. Countless women still treat him as their dream lover. What kind of world is this? Qi Tianqing glanced at him and dismissed it with a smile. At this point, the people from the 5 great families and the city lord mansion were all present. The deputy city lord and consecrator stepped forward, looking at the crowd with a solemn expression, and said in a loud voice, "Everyone, today is our Green Mountain City's once-in-a-decade grand event. This grand event is glorious and grand, conducted under the supervision of all the common people, absolutely fair and just. The rules of this martial arts competition are the same as the previous few. The 5 great families and the city lord mansion can each send 2 young disciples to participate. The participants are not more than 1,000 years old, and their strength does not exceed the divine lord realm. The purpose of this martial arts competition is to exchange pointers and learn from each other. Everyone must remember, do not go overboard, and do not take other people's lives. Otherwise, the city lord mansion will severely punish according to the laws of the kingdom of God. The deputy city lord and consecrator Shur announced the rules in front of everyone, then began to arrange the drawing of lots. The 5 great families and 400,000 common people had long been clear about the rules and process of the martial arts competition. Everyone wanted to skip these formalities and directly watch the geniuses fight on the stage. At this time, the deputy city lord said loudly, "The first round of the competition will now begin. Everyone, please come and draw lots." As he spoke, the deputy city lord waved his hand and 6 golden lights floated in the sky. Shwa! Shwa! Qi Tianlong and the heads of the various families flew to the front of the deputy city lord and prepared to draw lots. Qi Huanji took the opportunity to introduce the rules to Ji Tianqing. In the first round, the 6 clans will draw lots to determine their opponents, and they'll fight in pairs. The winner would advance to the next round, while the loser would be eliminated. Moreover, each family had to send 2 people to compete on the stage. This depended on the individual's strength as well as the tacit understanding and cooperation between the two. The city lord's mansion was able to win for 60 years, not only because Yuan Jie was strong enough, but also because he and Yuan Tai cooperated very well. Yuan Tai is the governor's nephew and Yuan Jie's cousin. He's a bit stronger than me. At this point, Qi Huanji was a little worried. He said, "Young Master Tianqing, although you're very strong, everyone can see that. But if the 2 of us go on stage together, I'm afraid, we'll be a burden to you." Ji Tianqing shook his head and said calmly, "Don't worry, just do your best." Hearing his words, Qi Huanji's heart calmed down and he felt more confident. At this time, the heads of the 6 families had finished drawing lots. The deputy city lord announced the results of the draw in public. The first round of the competition. The first round, the Feng family against the Qi family. The second round, the Qi family against the Lu family. The third round, the Yuqi family against the city lord's mansion. When the crowd heard the results, the 400,000 people in the square burst into cheers and discussions. The people from the 5 major families had complicated expressions. Some were happy, while others were sad. Qi Huanji was overjoyed. He secretly clenched his fists and said, "That's great. We'll fight the Feng family in the first round. Won't that be a piece of cake?" The people from the Lu family were very calm. The second elder had a confident smile on his face. As for the members of the Yuqi family, their expressions were somewhat unsightly as they revealed worried expressions. After all, the city lord's mansion was recognized as the most powerful family. The 2 young geniuses from the Yuqi family were not confident that they could defeat the Yuan brothers. Soon, the heads of the 6 families returned to their respective teams. The deputy city lord announced the start of the first round. Swoosh! A white light flashed. 2 figures flew out from the Feng family's team and entered the arena in the middle of the square. The person in the lead was the young master of the Feng family, Feng Qinglang. He stood in the arena with his left hand behind his back and a silver sword in his right hand. He held his head high with confidence. He looked at the people from the Qi family with a cold smile and said frivolously, "Qi Huanji, what are you waiting for? It's no use being afraid of being beaten. You'll crawl home today." The moment he said that, the square was filled with laughter. Many people knew that Feng Qinglang and Qi Huanji were competing. Neither of them was willing to give in to the other. After all, both of them were celebrities in Qingshan City. The 2 most useless good-for-nothings both wanted to prove to everyone that the other one was the worst of them all. The person next to Feng Qinglang was a skinny young man in a black robe. His name was Feng Jinhen, and he was Feng Qinglang's cousin. He had a dull personality and was a man of few words. He was always expressionless and did not have a presence. After stepping into the arena, he held the black divine sword and stared coldly at the people from the Qi family. Swoosh! Qi Huangji and Ji Tianqing walked out of the carriage and flew into the arena. When the two of them stood still on the stage, countless people's gazes landed on Ji Tianqing. It was the first time that the people from the aristocratic families, the city lord's mansion, and the people in the square saw Ji Tianqing. The crowd looked at him with complicated expressions and broke out into a discussion. Is that the young man the Qi family invited to serve them? Isn't he too young? How can an unknown young man be their Qi family's Qi family's Qi family's Qi family's Qi family's Qi family? What is the Qi family thinking? Are they going to let Qi Huangji do whatever he wants? Sigh. The Qi family's wealth is going to be ruined by Qi Huangji. This is going to be a good show. If the Qi family's Huangji can't even defeat the disciple of the Feng family, it will be embarrassing. The aristocratic families and the hundreds of thousands of people were gloating over Qi Huangji's misfortune. In the arena, Feng Qinglang pointed his sword at Ji Tianqing and laughed arrogantly. This is the Qi family's Huangji that they spent so much money to invite. Qi Huangji, you prodigal son. You did not disappoint. It's one thing for you to lose your mind, but why is your father so senile? Qi Huangji was not the only one who was infuriated. In the Qi family's carriage, Qi Tianlong frowned and his face darkened. Qi Huangji was about to retaliate. At this moment, a white light flashed beside him, and Ji Tianqing disappeared. In the next moment, Ji Tianqing appeared in front of Feng Qinglang out of thin air and kicked out at the speed of light. Chapter 2798. From the moment Ji Tianqing made his move to the moment he kicked Feng Qinglang, only half a second had passed. His speed was so fast that it was beyond everyone's expectations. In fact, the 400,000 people and the people of the major aristocratic families were still in a daze. When Feng Qinglang's laughter stopped abruptly and he realized the danger, it was too late for him to dodge. Bam! There was a muffled explosion. Ji Tianqing's kick landed on Feng Qinglang's face and sent him flying. While he was still in midair, his face was already distorted and blood was spurting out of his mouth. He drew an arc in the air and flew for hundreds of miles before he stopped. Instantly, the entire place fell silent. Not only were the aristocratic families stunned, but the 400,000 citizens in the square were also dumbfounded. No one had expected the Qi family's consecrator to be so powerful. Without even saying a word, he attacked at lightning speed and destroyed Feng Qinglang's face in an instant. According to the usual practice, both parties would attack, ridicule, and humiliate each other before they started to fight. This would not only affect the atmosphere of the audience, but it would also affect the opponent's mentality. However, no one had expected to meet such an unruly person like Ji Tianqing. Too powerful. Feng Qinglang flew for hundreds of miles and landed on the ground with a loud thud. He lay on the ground for a long time, unable to get up. Until now, he still hadn't come to his senses. His head was still buzzing and his eyes were seeing stars. Feng Jinan finally came to his senses. He shouted angrily and drew his divine blade, slashing it at Ji Tianqing with all his might. However, before he could unsheath his saber, Ji Tianqing teleported in front of him and kicked him again. Bam! With a muffled sound, the kick landed on his chest. He flew for hundreds of miles and landed beside Feng Qinglang with a loud thud. After he landed, he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood before he staggered to his feet. However, only a single breath had passed since then. After a moment of silence, the audience broke out into earth-shattering exclamations and discussions. Wow! What happened just now? Did I see that wrongly? That's too powerful. The Qi family's consecrator killed the Feng brothers instantly. That Qi clan's consecrator is so despicable. He didn't play by the rules. The 400,000 commoners were in an uproar. Countless people cheered, but there were also people who cursed Ji Tianqing for being despicable. The people from the 5 great clans and the city lord's mansion came back to their senses. They all revealed shocked and gloating expressions. Even Qi Tianlong was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. Qi Huanji was still rooted to the spot, staring at Ji Tianqing with his mouth agape. He knew that Ji Tianqing was very strong, but he did not expect that Ji Tianqing was actually this strong. He had just thought of what to say and was about to scold Feng Qinlang. However, the battle ended in the blink of an eye. This battle seems to have nothing to do with me. Qi Huanji scratched his head and gave Ji Tianqing a thumbs up. "Brother, you're awesome," he exclaimed. After saying that, he swaggered to the front of the Feng brothers and looked down at Feng Qinlang. He said proudly, "Sigh. Feng Qinlang, my brother Feng. I haven't even made a move and you're already down. How can you be so weak? Didn't you just say that you want me to crawl home? Come on, stand up if you dare. Let's fight for 300 rounds." Qi Huanji patted his chest loudly as he spoke, his face full of lofty aspirations and lofty aspirations. That look on his face was extremely despicable. Just as Feng Qinlang was about to get up, he was so enraged that he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Qi Huanji. You're F** King shameless." He roared as blood spewed out of his mouth. Qi Huanji quickly took 2 steps back and pointed at him. "Feng Qinlang, you're slandering me." All 400,000 commoners saw it. Feng Qinlang was so angry that he almost lost his mind. He glared at Qi Huanji with bloodshot eyes. Luckily, Feng Jinan was still calm. He turned to the vice city lord and consecrator Shi and shouted, "Consecrator Qi attacked us sneakily. Vice city lord, please punish him." Feng Qinlang was stunned for a moment before he roared, "That's right. Consecrator Qi is despicable. He took the opportunity to sneak attack me. Otherwise, how could I have fallen for his attack?" The Feng brothers' angry roars silenced the entire place. The leaders of the various families looked at the vice city lord and consecrator Shi, waiting for their decision. Both of them frowned and discussed in a low voice how to deal with the situation. Ji Tianqing said calmly, "The vice city lord announced the start of the battle and we stepped into the arena. From that moment on, the battle had already begun. How can you say that it was a sneak attack?" Qi Huanji quickly chimed in, "That's right. The battle had already started. Feng Qinlang talked too much and tried to buy time. Young Master Tianqing was too lazy to waste time with him. That's why he defeated him with 1 kick. Everyone saw it. The hundreds of thousands of commoners and the people from the major families thought about it and nodded. After the vice city lord and consecrator Shi finished their discussion, they announced loudly, "This is not a sneak attack. Stepping into the arena means that the battle has begun. I hope that everyone will pay attention to this point in the upcoming battle." When Feng Qinlang heard this, he became even angrier. He was so aggrieved that he wanted to vomit blood. The vice city lord looked at him and said, "Now, you can choose to admit defeat or continue the battle." The Feng brothers fell silent. Although Feng Qinlang was furious, he gradually calmed down. He knew that Consecrator Qi was powerful enough to crush both of them. Even if they forced themselves to continue the battle, they would only be asking for trouble. If they were seriously injured, it would affect their future cultivation of the divine path. It would not be worth it. After hesitating for a while, Feng Qinlang gritted his teeth and said, "We admit defeat." The vice city lord nodded and announced the result loudly, "The Qi family wins the first battle." Feng Qinlang and Feng Jinan supported each other and turned to leave the arena. Before leaving the arena, he glared fiercely at Qi Huanji and Ji Tianqing. He gritted his teeth and said, "Just you wait." Qi Huanji was in a good mood. He laughed proudly and said, "Wait for what? Do you want to slander us again? You! Feng Qinglang was so angry that his body trembled. The blood in his chest churned, and he almost vomited blood again. At the critical moment, Feng Jinan grabbed him and dragged him out of the arena. Ji Tianqing and Qi Huanji did not stay any longer. They also left the arena and flew back to the Qi family's carriage. At the same time, the people from the three aristocratic families and the Vice City Lord Mansion were discussing secretly. That consecrator Qi from the Qi family is indeed quite powerful. The Feng brothers are too useless. They were defeated by that kid in an instant. We didn't even see what happened. When the consecrator Qi attacked the Feng brothers, he did not use any divine ability, so we couldn't see anything. But the more he acted like this, the more it proves that he is hiding his strength. Everyone must be careful. No wonder Qi Tianlong invited that kid to be his consecrator. Qi Huanji is a brainless playboy, but Qi Tianlong is not a fool. It seems that consecrator Qi is targeting Yuan Jie. He has a good chance of winning. Chapter 2799. The first battle ended inexplicably just like that. The aristocratic families and the city lord's residence did not see through Ji Tianqing's background. The 400,000 civilians didn't see any splendid moves, nor did they see any marvelous skills or secret arts. In short, it was not exciting at all. The Feng brothers were the most depressed. They had lost so much face in front of everyone, but they had no way to seek redress. They were extremely sullen. The happiest people were of course the Qi family. Qi Tianlong smiled. His impression and evaluation of Ji Tianqing had increased by another level. Although this kid is arrogant, he is very smart. This is just the first battle. He defeated the Feng brothers in a flash without revealing his abilities. This way, Yuan Jie and Mu Yi will not be able to see through him and will not be able to guard against him. In the third carriage, Ning Xiyuan was also watching the battle. Ever since Ji Tianqing stepped onto the arena, she had been staring at him intently. Her gaze had never left him. She wanted to observe Ji Tianqing's battle and comprehend the law layering technique. But she did not expect that Ji Tianqing would use such a simple move to defeat the Feng brothers. He did not even use any divine powers or secret techniques, let alone the law layering technique. Ning Xiyuan was disappointed and a little frustrated. She could not help but curse, "Despicable guy. Does he not want me to see through him?" At this moment, the second battle began. The Qi family versus the Lu family. The first two people to go on stage were the Qi family's young master, Qi Jin, and his cousin, Ji Qi. Qi Jin's body was as sturdy as an iron tower. He had a head of red hair and wore dark red armor. He was arrogant and had a fiery temper. He held a broadsword that was as wide as a bench. Ji Qi was slimmer. He wore golden armor and held two golden swords in his hands. He was full of fighting spirit. The two brothers stood on the stage, 1,000 feet away from each other, waiting for the Lu family to step onto the stage. Swoosh! An ordinary-looking young man flew out from the Lu family's crowd. This person was the young master of the Lu clan. His appearance were ordinary, and his strength was also average. 9th level heavenly god realm, slightly stronger than Feng Qinglang and Qi Huanji, but on par with Qi Jin. After young Master Lu went up the stage, Mu Yi carried his divine sword and slowly stepped onto the stage. He was quite a distance away from young Master Lu. He stood on the stage expressionlessly, as if he was admiring himself and ignoring everyone else. Not only the people from the 5 aristocratic families, but even the hundreds of thousands of people in the square could see Mu Ye's arrogance. Qi Jin's eyes lit up. He sneered and said, "Lu Fei, your cousin Mu Yi is quite cocky. Not only did he not put us in his eyes, he even ignored you. TSK, he's a disciple of the Blood Sword sect after all. He's really arrogant and condescending. Lu Fei was a man of few words and was not good with words. In the face of Qi Jin's provocation, he simply kept his mouth shut. Mu Yi, on the other hand, reacted. He slowly raised his head and looked at Qi Jin. He said disdainfully, "You talk too much. Do you want to be like the trash of the Feng clan?" This sentence infuriated Qi Jin and the Feng clan. After being humiliated in public again, the Feng clan brothers were almost driven mad. They glared at Mu Yi with fire spewing out of their eyes. Qi Jin also sneered. "Ha ha ha, you're really arrogant, kid. But I don't know what you're capable of. What right do you have?" As he spoke, Qi Jin used all of his strength and swung his broadsword at Mu Yi. Ultimate Crimson cooperated well with him and instantly used his sword arts to attack from the side. Mu Yi was not worried in the slightest in the face of the Qi brothers' attacks. Instead, he sneered. "Useless chickens and pottery dogs, unable to withstand a single blow." As he spoke, he punched at Ultimate Crimson with his left hand and slashed at Qi Jin with his right. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Instantly, 16 bloody fist lights the size of mountains descended from the sky and blasted at Ultimate Crimson. 49 dazzling sword lights, carrying the power of 4 laws, slashed at Qi Jin. The space within 100 miles of the stage was instantly filled with bloody light, turning it into chaos. In the face of Mu Ye's powerful might, the Qi brothers' expressions changed. Deep fear appeared in their eyes. However, it was too late for them to change their moves. Bam! 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 In the next instant, the sky full of divine arts collided with a deafening explosion. The Qi brothers' divine arts attack was directly shattered and dissipated on the spot. Meanwhile, the bloody fist lights and sword shadows did not lose their power and drowned the Qi brothers' figures. Pft! Bam! Qi Jin was hit by more than 30 sword lights. His monarch-grade divine armor also caved in a few cracks. His internal organs were shaken, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ultimate Crimson's outcome was even worse. He was directly smashed to the ground by more than a dozen fist lights, his face covered in blood. Even though the Qi family was in the divine weapon business. The Qi brothers' weapons and armor were all low-grade monarch-grade divine artifacts. However, Mu Ye's divine sword was also a monarch-grade divine artifact. Its strength was even more unfathomable. Both sides had only exchanged one blow, and the Qi brothers were already injured. Lu Fei stood in the corner of the stage, with no intention of interfering. He quietly watched the scene. Clearly, he had long expected that Mu Yi could deal with the Qi brothers alone. This was a great humiliation to the Qi brothers. The two brothers were violent and unyielding. They were unwilling to admit defeat. They once again flew into the sky and attacked Mu Yi with all their strength. Scarlet flames destroy the world. Heaven-splitting scarlet wave slash. The two brothers exploded with their strongest divine power and used their trump cards. All of a sudden, the crimson divine flames filled the entire arena. More than 30 scarlet flame slashes that could split heaven and earth slashed towards Mu Yi. Mu Yi was still calm. He held the divine sword with both hands and used the blood sword sex divine art secret technique. Blood blade storm. His figure instantly disappeared and merged with the blood-red sword. A monstrous hurricane blew in the arena. The blood-red hurricane splashed out thousands of blood-red sword lights, drowning the arena within 100 miles. Thus, the four figures disappeared. The entire arena had turned into a huge fireball with flames surging into the sky. Rumble, muffled sounds, as well as pang pang pang, colliding sounds, constantly erupting in the ring. The arena was shaking non-stop. Even the ground of the huge square was shaking. Such a magnificent scene of destruction caused countless people to cheer and shout in excitement. The experts of the various large families were also dazzled and revealed expressions of shock. After a long while, the blood and fire that filled the sky in the arena gradually dissipated. The deafening explosions also gradually stopped. Only then did everyone see the situation clearly. They saw that Lu Fei was still holding his sword and standing in the corner of the arena. He hadn't made a move. The Qi brothers were lying on the ground, covered in blood. They were constantly twitching and trembling. Both of their armors were heavily damaged and had dozens of holes. They looked like a pile of scrap metal. They were in a very sorry state. As for Mu Yi, he stood above the heads of the Qi brothers, holding the divine sword with an expressionless face, looking cold and arrogant. After a moment of silence, the audience burst into deafening cheers. Chapter 2800. There was no doubt that the Lu family had won. The Qi brothers were heavily injured, and it was a tragic sight. On the other hand, Lu Fei and Mu Yi were completely unscathed. Mu Yi only used 2 moves to kill the Qi brothers. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Mu Ye's performance could be said to be stunning. Countless people were shocked and fearful. The people of the major families looked at Mu Yi in a different light. They were full of caution and vigilance. At the same time, they were also hostile to the Lu family and secretly discussed. When did the Lu family invite such a genius? Mu Yi is a disciple of the Blood Sword sect. When did the Lu family have a relationship with the Blood Sword sect? How could the Lu family patriarch have a nephew? And he's still cultivating in the Blood Sword sect. The situation doesn't seem right. Mu Ye's secret technique actually used 5 types of laws. It's unbelievable. He's not a divine lord, but he has the methods of a divine lord. He has a high chance of defeating Yuan Jie and helping the Lu family obtain the profound light cave. The people of the major families discussed. Even the people of the city lord's mansion felt the pressure. The hundreds of thousands of people in the square cheered and discussed for a long time. Everyone was excited. Many people worshipped Mu Yi. Ji Tianqing had killed the Feng brothers in 1 move and Mu Yi had used 2 moves to defeat the Qi brothers. But the people didn't think that Ji Tianqing was strong. Instead, they thought that Mu Yi was stronger. After all, this battle was very entertaining. Bloody flames filled the sky and a storm of swords. What a beautiful and magnificent scene. After a while, the vice city lord shouted, "Everyone, quiet down." Only then did the discussions in the square gradually stop. After the square quieted down, the vice city lord expressionlessly announced, "I declare that the Lu family wins the 2nd battle." Then, the 3rd battle began. The Yuqi family against the city lord's mansion. The first person to enter the stage was naturally the handsome and elegant young city lord, Yuan Jie. Whoosh! His golden robe fluttered as he strode onto the stage and stood proudly on it. Then, Yuan Tai, who was wearing black armor, flew onto the stage. He wore armor and a helmet, revealing only his eyes. He held a saber in his hand. Compared to the glorious Yuan Jie, he had no sense of existence, just like Yuan Jie's bodyguard. Although his talent and aptitude were also very outstanding, surpassing that of the young masters of the aristocratic families. But compared to Yuan Jie, he was somewhat overshadowed. Fortunately, Yuan Tai had long since gotten used to living under Yuan Jie's boundless golden light. He was willing to hide in the shadows and be an insignificant person. After the Yuan brothers went up the stage, the hundreds of thousands of people were in an uproar. Countless young women were so excited that their faces were flushed red as they loudly shouted Yuan Jie's name. Yuan Jie enjoyed the adoration and worship of the crowd. He was in a good mood, and his face was full of smiles. As for the Yuqi family's 2 battle participants, they were practically ignored by everyone. The leader was the Yuqi family's young master, Yuqi Changtian. This person was over 3 m tall and had a dignified appearance. His eyes glowed with a terrifying light, and he emanated a mighty and domineering aura. Unfortunately, he was still not strong enough. The Yuchi family's strongest youth genius was the second young master, Wuxia Chronicles. That dark and skinny youth in green robes was Green Mountain City's famous martial arts fanatic. After the two brothers went up the stage, they looked at Yuan Jie expressionlessly, their eyes somewhat solemn. Yuan Jie did not have the slightest bit of enmity. He cupped his hands at the two of them and said with a smile, "Two Yuchi brothers, our two families have been friends for 1,000 years. Today is just a spar. Let's stop when it's appropriate to avoid harming the harmony." Even if he really wanted to trample the other party underfoot in his heart, Yuan Jie's face revealed a kind smile. The commoners who did not know would really think that the two families had a deep relationship and felt that Yuan Jie was docile and respectful. Wuxia Chronicles sneered coldly in his heart. Unwilling to feign civility with Yuan Jie, he nodded and said, "Many thanks, young city lord. Then let's begin." Yuan Jie made an inviting gesture and said with a smile, "Two brothers, after you. Then we won't be courteous." Wuxia Chronicles did not stand on ceremony either. He immediately mustered 100% of his power and brandished his battle saber to kill Yuan Tai. At the same time, Wuxia Chronicles' left hand formed a divine art and his right hand brandished a divine saber, attacking Yuan Jie with all his might. Skyblade Prison Locking Formation. Whoosh! 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 Wuxia Chronicles used his ultimate move right off the bat, releasing the newly learned saber formation. In a split second, tens of thousands of five-colored saber lights covered 100 miles of space, forming a saber formation seething with murderous aura. Inside the saber formation, the Wuxia brothers' combat power skyrocketed by 2 times, and their movements became more agile. Yuan Jie's expression did not change. He pulled out his divine sword calmly and used his ultimate divine ability. Star Moon Sky Splitting Sword. His left hand formed a sword art, and his right hand brandished the sword, slashing out starlight that filled the sky. Whoosh! 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 In a blink of an eye, more than 36,000 rays of starlight sword lights also formed 100 miles of sword formation. Seeing this scene, the several major aristocratic families and hundreds of thousands of commoners all revealed looks of surprise. Is this a sword formation divine ability? I've never seen the young city lord use it before. Too inconceivable. The young city lord did not make a move for 10 years and actually mastered another divine ability mystic art. Sword formation versus saber formation, this is going to be exciting. In my opinion, this battle has no suspense. The young city lord will definitely win. Just as everyone was discussing, the 4 people in the ring already launched a fierce battle. The figures of the 4 geniuses were like flowing lights streaking across the sky, twisting and turning in the ring, flashing continuously. Saber lights and sword lights that blotted out the sky and covered the earth were like heaven-splitting blades, constantly slashing at each other. The 5-colored dazzling light was more dazzling than the sun and moon, constantly blooming in the ring. Loud rumbling sounds also lingered on incessantly, shaking the ring and square until it trembled. This battle lasted for a full 10 breaths of time. Both sides exchanged more than 20 moves before the victor was finally decided. The result was as the commoners expected. The Yuan brothers won. Wuxia Chronicles' saber formation as well as his exquisite saber technique were all broken by Yuan Jie. When the battle ended, the Wuxia brothers were all seriously injured, half kneeling on the ring covered in blood, using their divine sabers to support themselves on the ground. In contrast, the 2 brothers of the Yuan family only suffered minor injuries, insignificant. Especially Yuan Jie, his golden robe was intact, not a strand of his hair out of place, still elegant and graceful. The Wuxia brothers were full of unwillingness, but there was nothing they could do and could only open their mouths to admit defeat. The young city lord's sword technique is unparalleled, even better than before. We accept our defeat wholeheartedly. Yuan Jie hurriedly went forward and helped the Yuchi brothers up, saying humbly, "Brother Yuchi, you flatter me. I am ashamed to accept it. Injuries are inevitable in a battle on the ring, but this was not my original intention. Please forgive me." In front of hundreds of thousands of commoners, Yuan Jie displayed the characteristics of modesty, gentleness, and kindness. Naturally, countless commoners expressed admiration and love for him. Many young women also admired and were even more infatuated with him, their eyes full of jealousy. Chapter 28:01. The first round of the competition ended. The Feng, Qi, and Yuchi families had all been eliminated. In the previous 6 competitions, they had all failed. They had not won a single time. It was fine if they lost this time. They did not expect to win in the first place. However, the Feng and Qi families were not convinced and lost very sullenly. If they had lost to the City Lord Mansion, it would have been reasonable. However, they had actually lost to the Qi and Lu families. One had to know that the young disciples of these 2 families were the weakest among the 6 forces. Most importantly, the Qi and Lu families had both invited external help. The Qi family had invited a consecrator, and the Lu family had a young genius who was a disciple of the Blood Sword sect. This was simply cheating. Feeling aggrieved, the people from the Feng clan and the Qi clan both hoped that the City Lord's mansion would be able to crush everyone as usual. The brothers Yuan Jie and Yuan Tai could defeat the Qi and Lu families and trample them under their feet. Only then could the anger of the Feng and Qi families be appeased. Only then would they be able to keep their faces. In any case, they could not defeat the City Lord Mansion. No one had the right to mock the other. An hour later, the Qi, Lu, and City Lord Mansion began the second round of the competition. The first thing to do was still to draw lots. According to the results of the draw, 2 forces would be chosen to fight. The loser would be eliminated, and the winner would fight with the third force to determine the final outcome. Yuan Jie, Qi Tianlong, and the Lu family's second elder all flew to the deputy city lord and began to draw lots. Soon, the results of the draw were out. What was slightly surprising was that the 2 forces participating in the first round were the City Lord Mansion and the Qi family. The Lu family was very lucky to have a bye. After the deputy city lord announced the results, hundreds of thousands of people burst into cheers, praising the City Lord Mansion for being fair and just. The deputy city lord just laughed it off. Yuan Jie seized this opportunity to gain a good impression of the City Lord Mansion. However, the draw was really a matter of luck. I hereby announce the start of the first battle of the second round. After the people quietened down, the deputy city lord announced the start of the competition. Yuan Jie flew into the arena first and stood proudly in the middle with a confident smile on his face. Yuan Tai followed behind and stared at the Qi family members expressionlessly. Hundreds of thousands of commoners erupted into earth-shattering cheers. They were all shouting slogans like "Yuan Jie will definitely win" and "The City Lord's Mansion is the strongest." This battle had yet to begin, but the City Lord Manor's momentum had already overwhelmed the Qi family. At least 60 to 70% of the citizens believed that the City Lord's Mansion would win. Everyone from the Qi family had a grave expression on their faces. Several deacons and young disciples were secretly discussing whether or not the Qi family had any hope of winning. In fact, Qi Tianlong was not confident. Although he had seen with his own eyes how Ji Tianqing defeated Ning Xiyuan in one move. However, he knew that the sparring match was just an accident. There were too many uncertainties. He was still unclear about Ji Tianqing's true strength. In the entire Qi family, Qi Huanji was probably the only one who had high hopes for Ji Tianqing. Shua! Ji Tianqing and Qi Huanji flew across the sky and landed steadily on the arena. Their appearance on the arena was very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Unlike Yuan Jie, who showed off his movement skills when he entered the arena and struck a cool pose when he landed on the arena. The four of them stood on the arena 10 miles away from each other. Yuan Jie ignored Qi Huangji and stared at Ji Tianqing. He said, "Young Master Tianqing, you don't look like someone from Green Mountain City." He was obviously asking about Ji Tianqing's background. Ji Tianqing said expressionlessly, "I have been since yesterday." Yuan Jie was stunned. The smile on his face froze. This answer made him unable to ask any more questions. He was immediately silenced. He did not want to be snubbed. He saluted and said seriously, "Young Master Tianqing, please." Ji Tianqing returned the salute and said to Qi Huangji telepathically, "Don't worry about Yuan Jie. Just keep an eye on Yuan Tai." "Okay." Qi Huangji heaved a sigh of relief and replied telepathically. He had fought with Yuan Jie a few times and was beaten badly each time. He was already traumatized. Since Ji Tianqing had given him the order, he was completely relieved. In the next moment, Ji Tianqing made the first move. He threw out a dragon-elephant fist with his left hand and blasted it toward Yuan Tai. He made a sword sign with his right hand and instantly shot out more than 75 colored sword lights, which enveloped Yuan Jie. Just in time. Yuan Jie shouted coldly. He held the golden sword with both hands and sent out sword lights that blotted out the sky. Yuan Tai also responded calmly. He used all his strength to slash out two giant swords that were thousands of feet long at the dragon-elephant fist. Bam, bam, bam. The sky full of divine skill light collided and immediately let out a deafening sound. Then, an unbelievable scene appeared. Yuan Jie's sword aura that filled the sky was actually shattered into pieces by the five-colored sword aura, splashing out billions of pieces. The 70 or so five-colored sword lights were intact, and their power was still terrifying. In the blink of an eye, Yuan Jie's figure was drowned by the five-colored sword lights. Only then did Yuan Jie clearly sense that the five-colored sword lights contained at least 10 types of power of laws. He was shocked and revealed an expression of disbelief. His eyes also became extremely solemn. Bam! 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 In a series of muffled sounds, Yuan Jie was hit by more than 70 swords. His figure flew out in a sorry state and landed dozens of miles away. At this moment, the two giant swords that Yuan Tai slashed out were also shattered by the dragon-elephant fist. Immediately after, the dragon-elephant fist descended from the sky and smashed into Yuan Tai. Kaboom! A thunderous sound exploded in the arena, causing the arena and the square to tremble. The arena space within 100 miles was also filled with 7-colored divine light. It was impossible to see clearly. After a moment, the 7-colored divine light dissipated. Only then did the crowd realize that the Yuan brothers, who were still brilliant and powerful, were actually injured and in a sorry state. Yuan Jie's robes were tattered, and his jade crown was broken. His long hair was loose and covered half of his face. There were more than 20 wounds on his body, and dark red blood kept gushing out, soaking his clothes. Even the corners of his mouth were dripping with blood. Yuan Tai's injuries were even worse. Not only was his armor distorted, but his entire body was curled up like a shrimp. He got up with difficulty and staggered as blood kept spurting out of his mouth and nose. Seeing this, the 5 aristocratic families and hundreds of thousands of people were dumbfounded. Qi Huangji was also stunned. He could not help but scratch his head and mumble, "This. I haven't even made a move, and the battle is already over." Obviously, Yuan Jie was not the Feng brothers and would not admit defeat so easily. He stared coldly at Ji Tianqing and said in a low voice, "You are indeed qualified to be my opponent. I underestimated you. I will not be merciful anymore." Ji Tianqing said indifferently, "You no longer have a chance." As his voice fell, he slowly raised his palms and used all his strength to blast out 2 divine heavenly dragons. Chapter 2802. Heavenly Dragon Palm. Roar. Two dragon roars reverberated through the heavens. Two sacred heavenly dragons over 10,000 zhang long and glowing with golden light slammed toward Yuan Tai and Yuan Jie with an imperious aura. At that moment, the entire arena was filled with golden light. It was so blinding that people could not open their eyes. Even through the protective shield of the arena, the hundreds of thousands of people in the square could still feel the terrifying aura of the heavenly dragons. Countless people were fearful, and their faces were filled with awe. Many young women were worried for Yuan Jie, and their hearts were in their throats. Yuan Jie and Yuan Tai's expressions changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with horror. Even though they knew that the two heavenly dragons were not real and were only shadows formed by divine powers. However, the heavenly dragon's aura was too terrifying. Once they were hit, they would most likely be smashed to pieces. At the critical moment, the two brothers teleported back and desperately dodged. Swoosh! With a flash of light, the two of them teleported from the east side of the arena to the west side. However, the heavenly dragons locked onto their auras and teleported over as well. Swoosh! Dazzling golden light bloomed, and the two heavenly dragons instantly rushed above their heads and dived down. The two of them were about to be hit by the heavenly dragons. At the critical moment, Yuan Jie actually pounced toward Yuan Tai and joined forces to form a shield. After all, Yuan Tai's injuries were more serious. If he was hit by the heavenly dragons, the consequences would be unimaginable. Kaboom! An earth-shattering explosion finally exploded in the arena. At that moment, the entire arena began to shake violently, and the large square also began to tremble. The people from the major families and hundreds of thousands of people stared at the arena without blinking, afraid that they would miss the most exciting scene. However, the arena was filled with divine golden light, and nothing could be seen clearly. It was not until 10 breaths later that the golden light gradually dissipated. At that moment, the battle had stopped. The outcome had been decided. Ji Tianqing stood in the arena unscathed. Qi Huangji was next to him, and his robe was as clean as new. After all, this guy had not fought yet. The entire battle did not have much to do with him. However, the fate of the Yuan brothers was unexpectedly tragic. Both of them were covered in blood, and their hair was disheveled. They were panting heavily. Yuan Jie could still stand. He used his sword to support himself on the ground, and his other arm was supporting Yuan Tai. Yuan Tai was severely injured and on the verge of passing out. After seeing the result, the people from the major families changed their expressions, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The second elder of the Lu clan, Lu Fei, Mu Yi, and the others frowned with unpleasant looks on their faces. As for the commoners in the square, they had long been stunned into silence. Everyone was silent for a while before they came to their senses. Then, deafening cries of surprise erupted from the square as countless people began to discuss wildly. This is unbelievable. Yuan Jie actually lost. If I didn't see it, who would believe it? Yuan Jie, who won 6 battles in a row, was actually defeated by the Qi family's consecrator. Furthermore, the Qi family's consecrator didn't use his divine weapon. He fought Yuan Jie and Yuan Tai alone. Who is that kid? Is he really not a divine lord? Despicable bastard. He actually injured Yuan Jie. Sisters, we will never forgive him. Yes. That kid ruined young Master Yuan's handsome face. He is our public enemy. The people in the square exclaimed and discussed. They rushed into the arena like a tsunami. Yuan Jie stood in the arena, but his eyes were unfocused, and his hearing was a little blurry. He was in a daze and could not hear what the people in the square were shouting. He still could not accept the result. I am the #1 genius of Green Mountain City. I can be ranked in the top 30 in the entire Bloodfire Divine Kingdom. How could I lose? I have the secret sword array and so many divine skills, but I didn't have the chance to use them. I can't accept this. Why is it like this? Yuan Jie murmured. His heart was filled with anger and humiliation. I crushed the 5 major families in the previous 6 competitions, and the people in the city worshipped me. Now that I lost, they are so emotional. They must be laughing at me and praising the Qi family's Huanji. Ha ha ha. What a bunch of fence-sitters. Yuan Jie sighed to himself. His eyes and heart were gloomy. Yuan Tai, who was on the verge of fainting, endured his injuries and reminded in a hoarse voice, "Young master, admit defeat. I can't hold on any longer." After saying this with difficulty, Yuan Tai closed his eyes and fell into a coma. Yuan Jie came back to his senses and quickly carried Yuan Tai out of the arena. He did not look at Ji Tianqing's expression. He could not admit defeat in front of the crowd. He could not afford to lose face. The most important thing now was to leave the arena and treat Yuan Tai's injuries. After the Yuan brothers left the arena, the vice city master announced loudly, "I declare that the Qi family wins the first battle." In fact, everyone saw the result. There was no need for him to announce it. The hundreds of thousands of people and people from the major families were still in shock. In the arena, Qi Huanji gave Ji Tianqing a thumbs up and said excitedly, "Young Master Tianqing, you are too amazing. That is Yuan Jie, the #1 genius of Green Mountain City. You fought 1 against 2, yet you only used 2 moves to defeat the 2 of them. You are too terrifying, too monstrous. From today onwards, you will be famous in 1 battle. It will not be long before your name spreads throughout Tianfeng County." Qi Huanji's face was flushed with excitement, and his eyes were full of admiration. Ji Tianqing only nodded slightly and did not say anything. Qi Huanji continued, "Before the battle, you asked me to keep an eye on Yuan Tai. I was still thinking about how to keep him busy without affecting your battle with Yuan Jie. I didn't expect that when you said keep an eye on him, you meant, just keep an eye on him. I watched from the side, and you finished him off alone." Ji Tianqing was a little helpless. He explained, "You didn't misunderstand. I did ask you to keep Yuan Tai busy. Who would have thought that I would injure the 2 of them with just 1 move of probing? Since their strength is only a so-so, I'll end this quickly." Average? Qi Huanji's eyes widened. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Everyone in Green Mountain City knows how powerful Brother Yuan is. Especially Yuan Jie. His talent and qualifications are almost in the top 30 of Bloodflame Divine Kingdom. I think you are the only one who is qualified to say that they are average. Ji Tianqing said calmly, "He is indeed average. He can't be called a genius. Of course, your fiancé is the same." Qi Huanji looked at him with a strange expression. He had completely lost his temper. Okay. You are the most monstrous. Whatever you say is right. If it were trash like us, we would have been beaten to death if we dared to talk like you." Qi Huanji decided not to discuss this with him. His heart could not take it anymore. Chapter 2803. The discussion in the square did not stop. The people from the aristocratic families had complicated expressions as they secretly observed Ji Tianqing. Qi Huanji made a "please" gesture and said to Ji Tianqing, "Young Master Tianqing, let's go and rest for 2 hours." According to the rules of the martial arts competition, the winner could rest for 2 hours after the end of the battle. But what Qi Huanji did not expect was that Ji Tianqing was still standing in the same place and had no intention of leaving. "No, it's a waste of time." "Huh?" Qi Huanji was very surprised and asked doubtfully, "You must have used a lot of divine power in the battle just now. Aren't you going to meditate for a while?" Ji Tianqing asked rhetorically, "I only made 2 moves. Is that a battle?" Ah. Qi Huanji nodded as if he understood. Well, you're a genius. Whatever you say is right. After hesitating for a moment, he continued to ask, in that case, should I ask the deputy city governor to announce the second battle? Yes. Ji Tianqing nodded. Then, he added, go and rest. I can handle it alone. Well. Qi Huanji's eyes dimmed and he laughed self-deprecatingly. I'm still holding you back. Seeing that he was defeated, Ji Tianqing explained, it's not that you're holding me back. I'm going to use a large-scale killing move next and I'm afraid that I'll hurt you by accident. Qi Huanji thought for a moment and blinked. What's the difference? You still think I'm holding you back, don't you? Ji Tianqing did not bother to explain more to him. He said expressionlessly, well, yes. Qi Huanji was completely helpless. He shook his head with a wry smile and turned to fly out of the arena. He stood in the sky and shouted to the Deputy City Governor, Deputy City Governor, young Master Tianqing does not need to rest. He requests for the second battle. Qi Huanji's voice was very loud and clear. The moment he shouted, everyone in the square heard him clearly. Immediately, the noisy crowd of hundreds of thousands of people quieted down. Everyone's eyes were focused on Ji Tianqing. Their gazes were complicated and strange. Qi Huanji had just returned to the Qi family's convoy. Qi Tianlong asked, Huanji, why did you retreat without a fight and leave Tianqing alone? Qi Huanji hurriedly explained, young Master Tianqing said that he was going to use his ultimate move later and was afraid that he would accidentally injure me. Qi Tianlong was silent for a moment before he sighed and said, you idiot, you don't understand what young Master Tianqing means. Yesterday, Mu Yi said that he would defeat and humiliate you in front of everyone in the Qi family's main hall. Mu Yi will definitely not let you off when you fight in the arena later. Young Master Tianqing asked you to retreat because he wanted to protect you. He didn't want you to get hurt. Qi Huanji was enlightened by his father's words, and he was deeply moved. I didn't expect that young Master Tianqing would take such good care of me despite his cold exterior. Qi Tianlong reminded him in a timely manner, it's your blessing to be friends with young Master Tianqing. From now on, you should follow young Master Tianqing and learn as much as you can. Qi Huanji hurriedly nodded in agreement. At this moment, the vice-governor announced expressionlessly, at the request of the Qi family's honorary master, I announced the start of the second round of the competition. This battle will be the final battle of this martial arts competition. This battle is of great significance, so I hope that both sides will be cautious. After he finished speaking, he glanced at the Lu family. This was obviously a warning to the Lu family. After all, Ji Tianqing's performance was too arrogant and he even injured the Yuan brothers. The vice-governor was very angry, but he could not show it. He could only pin his hopes on the Lu family and hope that they could defeat Ji Tianqing. It would be best if they could beat him half to death. The Lu family's second elder understood his meaning and hurriedly warned Lu Fei and Mu Yi. Young Master Mu, the honorary master of the Qi family is mysterious and powerful. In these 2 rounds, he defeated his opponents with lightning-fast moves. You must be careful. As long as you can block his first 2 moves, you will be able to defeat his spirit. Lu Fei listened carefully and nodded repeatedly. However, Mu Yi impatiently waved his hand and interrupted the second elder. I saw it clearly. I don't need you to remind me. The second elder was a little embarrassed, but he could only suppress his anger and smile apologetically. Since young Master Mu is so confident, I am relieved. The Master and Honorary Master Yi are still waiting for the good news of your victory at home. Don't worry. In a small place like Qingshan City, no one can defeat me. Mu Yi said confidently as he flew towards the arena with the divine sword in his arms. Lu Fei hurriedly followed. However, when he was halfway there, he heard Mu Ye's arrogant tone. Lu Fei, you don't have to follow me. Stay there and watch the show. Huh? Lu Fei was stunned and frowned. Seeing that he was unwilling to go back, Mu Yi added, if you go to the arena with me, not only will you not be of help, but you will also drag me down. Moreover, the honorary master of the Qi family will fight alone. How can I let you help me? If that's the case, even if I win, it will be an unfair victory. I want to defeat him fair and square and let him know the difference between a worm and a genius. After saying that, Mu Yi flew into the arena without looking back and landed in the middle of the field. Lu Fei was hesitant. He was in a dilemma and turned to look at the second elder. The second elder also heard Mu Ye's words. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, young master, come back. Since young master Mu is so confident, let him go alone. Don't think that we can afford to offend him. Okay. Lu Fei made up his mind and returned to the crowd to watch the fight. Meanwhile, in the arena, Ji Tianqing and Mu Yi were facing each other from a distance of 10 miles. Ji Tianqing looked indifferent. His eyes were calm and there was no murderous aura around him. However, his body contained a terrifying power that could destroy the world. Mu Ye's face was cold and his eyes were as sharp as swords. He looked at Ji Tianqing with disdain. Kid, tell me your identity and background. Let's see if you're qualified to be my opponent. Ji Tianqing said expressionlessly, I'm the honorary master of the Qi family, Tianqing. Mu Yi frowned and sneered. Are you out of your mind? I'm asking about your real identity. Obviously, he thought that Ji Tianqing was a genius disciple of some sect like him. It was a pity that Ji Tianqing had not used his divine weapon or his trump card in the previous 2 battles. Mu Yi had been observing him, but he couldn't see through his background. He couldn't guess which sect he came from. Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and sneered. You're just a loser. You don't have the right to know my identity. Mu Ye's face was as cold as ice and his eyes were cold. He had always been confident and arrogant. He did not expect to meet someone who was even more arrogant. Little bastard, you're courting death. Mu Yi roared. His body was covered in blood flames and he immediately drew his sword to attack Ji Tianqing. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.